Okay, is it better? Is it better, guys? Yep, it's better? Okay, good. See, told you it worked. It's not my
Yo,
wife.
Mike, I just read your book. I love it. Everybody subscribe to Mike's YouTube. That's all I have to say. Thanks for going live, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have you ever heard of the name Kenny? I'm going to pronounce his last name terribly. I'll put it in the chat for you, right? I want you to look him up and his study about plants are sentient beings.
What's the study called?
I'm going to give you a name, right? And
No, don't. I don't care about names. I want a study.
I just said
Think of
plants
its
are
study.
sentient beings. That's his study. I give you the name of the person and its study. Plants are sentient beings.
Okay,
I'm
great.
putting the name in chat for you so you can find it.
Okay, great. Is it peer reviewed? And what journal was it in?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's peer reviewed by multiple people, by pioneers.
Okay, great. Who was it peer reviewed by?
I don't know who it's peer reviewed by.
Okay, great. So let me see the study then. Let me see what it is. Let's explore the methodology.
There you go. The name is in chat now, right? It's called Plants are Sentient
I
Beings.
know the name, sir. I don't see the study though, right? Where's the study?
It's called Plants are Sentient Beings.
I don't see anything in it. What journal is it in?
I'm not 100% sure, but do you want to listen to the video the guy made on it?
Okay. Do you have the study in front of you?
I've told you what the study name is based up from what I just
No, sir, please. Do you have the study in front of you?
I'm going to play it for you if you wish.
What do you mean play the study? It's not a video. You don't have a video, do you?
Yeah. Based from his study. It's a shortened down version of his study.
No, sir. A study's not a video. A study is an actual peer-reviewed.
I know what a study is. I'm in university. I do science, okay? I'm doing
Great. So then
science.
I don't care about your fucking video.
Right? I'm literally getting a video because I don't have access.
Look, I have searched plants or sentient beings. I don't see a study, right? So either give me a DOI number, the journal it's in, give me something. I cannot find the study.
I'll see if I can find it in the description. Okay, so the speech was given at the 2016 National
I
Pioneers
don't care about a
Conference.
speech. I want the data.
This is based off the data. I'm trying to find it for you. Like I said, I don't have access to my laptop right now
When you
because
have
it's
the
on.
study. Come back when you have the study. Okay? Pretty embarrassing.
Oh, you say humans cause climate change. That's obvious, okay? You have no education. You're stupid, okay? You say God is imaginary. You say go vegan. What the fuck does veganism have to do with God?
It's rude. What's rude is to come up to my live and pretend as if you have something when you don't. That's rude, right? People have been calling me names all night. There's no reason for me to not hit back. There's no reason for me to sit there and just take that nonsense. No, I'm gonna speak up. I'm gonna say that's wrong.
I think God is real.
All right, guys, keep tapping. Let's get some more peeps in here and let's have more debates. Please come up if you disagree. Begging for outreach clicks? What are you talking about? I care about people. I care about animals. I care about others around me. Right? That's why I do these lives, because people deserve to be exposed to these good arguments. People deserve to be able to think critically. It helps their world. It helps everybody. Insulting someone's beliefs is never going to go vegan. Well, it did for me. beliefs do not deserve love or respect. The beliefs should be criticized when they can. Your little brother, so Jesus. At first I thought you were mean, but now you gain my respect for your honesty. Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure, there are times that I'm abrasive, but guys, I'm debating, right? It's going to be heated. And I'm trying to work on my patience, but like sometimes it's hard to just listen to the same nonsense every day. And listen to the same arguments.
Hello?
Hi, how old are you?
24.
Great, what do you got?
Dude, dogs and cats and birds and animals are like amazing. And I think that they are proof that God is real.
So your argument is that birds, bro, therefore God?
I mean, animals, they have such an amazing place in my heart. Have you ever had an animal? A pet?
Okay, so what you're saying is pets exist, therefore God exists. Is this your argument?
I'm not even trying to argue, motherfucker. I'm trying to tell you, have you ever had a pet that's loved you and like has been helpful? And not just a piece of meat, right?
Yeah, like your mom? Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So answer me this. Why is it that when people want to go vegan, how could you be vegan and not like, I don't know, if you like animals that much, you know what I mean? Why not?
Ha 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 ha, so funny. Ha 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 ha. I laughed so hard. Ha 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 ha. LOL. That was funny. That was funny. Do you don't believe in God? Yeah, I don't believe in God. There is no such thing as a God. Why should I go vegan? So you don't harm and abuse animals, that's why. We can all do better to not harm the world around us, right? We all have choices, so why not make the best choice you can? It's not hard to change. Keep tapping, guys. Follow, subscribe, and share the live to get more people in here. People, becoming vegan doesn't do anything. The animals still get offed. No, dude. So it's called supply and demand, right? Every time you demand animal products, more animals die for you. So individually, we save hundreds of animals per year by going vegan. But there's millions of people that are vegan around the world, and that number is growing. So the point is to slowly minimize and reduce animal death. Like, what you're arguing for is, hey, everybody else has a slave, so why shouldn't I have a slave? It's not going to do anything to get rid of my slaves. Well, it's like, okay, but it's still you're making a small impact, and on a collective basis, that's a big impact, and we can change, right, collectively. That's the entire point. It is the same. It's the exact same scenario, right? There's an injustice happening that's not required, and you're using a bad argument to justify it. The demand for meat will never follow the levels. That's not. I don't care about that. I never think that we will eliminate all death. That's never what I said. That's not what veganism means, right? It means to minimize as much as we can. That's all I advocate for. And that's what we're doing. You guys are making excuses because you don't want to change. And I understand that. But it's not that hard to change. You just don't like it because it's not familiar to you, right? You just don't want to change. I like meat, I like the way it tastes. These are just excuses, right? These are just smoke screens. You're just trying to hide yourself, right?
Okay, so you say God is imaginary, go vegan, evolution is a fact, humans cause climate change. Okay, so I'm going to debunk your evolution theory because if you look at a Harvard University studies, they've studied that evolution is not true because African peoples, as myself, are 100% human, share no DNA or blood with the Neanderthal, the East Asians, Mediterranean groups, Europeans, and those other sides do share DNA with Neanderthal, Bobos, Australopithecus in their skin, although their brain is more developed.
Okay, Sarah, please hold on.
So how does evolution make sense?
So first of all, just because you don't share Neanderthal DNA but other people do doesn't mean that evolution doesn't happen. There's a certain amount of genetic variation in the human population. Everybody's DNA is going to be a bit different. Some populations of people are have more of that inheritance than others. But that actually demonstrates evolution is true, right? Because it actually shows us that there is genetic variation within a species. And enough of that can yield a different species. We see this in the fossil record. We see this in our DNA. We see
Africans
this
were
in
the
lab
first
experiments.
people.
The evidence
So
of evolution is overwhelming.
how is that? Is because if Africans were the first people on this planet, so how do they create Neanderthals? There had to have been two different species, humans
Neanderthals
and
also come from Africa. All humans come from Africa.
no, but
All
no, you
species.
look it up. Look it up. Africans share no DNA, 100% human, no DNA with Neanderthal.
All humans come from
No,
Africa.
they do not.
Okay, great. So where was the other place that humans originated?
Uh, it was so-called what you guys call it Pangea, which is all connected.
That did not exist when humans existed.
How do you know this?
Geological evidence. Pangea
So
was hundreds of
how
millions of years ago, way
no,
before humans.
I'm a vegan for one thing, and for one thing, the Bible does tell you to be a vegan anyways. So in that
Well,
fact,
no, that not okay. Some people might interpret it that way, but that's irrelevant. I'm
no, it's
asking
not.
about your arguments against these things. Do you have any actual arguments today?
Yeah, I do have actual arguments because I share no DNA with Neanderthals. So how'd I evolve?
Evolution's ongoing. First of all, mutations are
Yeah,
always
am I
occurring,
evolving
and
right
it
now?
happens on a hold on. Evolution happens on a population basis, not an individual basis, right? Just because you don't have Neanderthal DNA doesn't mean that you have not evolved.
So what I evolved from?
Other humans,
Really?
yes, other
And how
humans, yes,
so? And how so?
that didn't have that DNA.
But Harvard study shows that even dating back to the earliest African peoples that they didn't share any DNA, like the very first Harvard
There's lots
studies
of
show
look.
this.
Africans have the most genetic variation between
Of
humans.
human,
Yes, they have the most
100%.
genetic variation. That's why you probably don't have Neanderthal DNA because
They
Neanderthals
never
lived
did.
mostly in Europe and in Eurasia, and
They
they were not exposed to Africa much. That's
it
why
doesn't
you
matter.
probably
Okay, so
don't
you're
have their
basically saying
DNA.
okay, so you're saying it's the environment, right? All right, so I'm gonna have a child and I'm gonna raise my child out there in Europe in the cold, and I want to see if he comes out as a white man. Where's your theory? Okay, so if that's
That's not evolution. It's not Pokemon. This isn't Pokemon.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello. Mike, why don't you like meat?
because I might sound like you if I
Why
did.
don't you like meat, bro?
Because I'd sound like you if I did. I would never want to sound like you. All right, come up, guys, if you have any actual data. I remember when Jim Bob destroyed you. Oh, really? What did he destroy me on? The part when he conceded? The part when he conceded the debate? Or the part where he didn't know what a contradiction was? Which part did he destroy me in? I'd love to know. Okay. Keep tapping, guys. Please. I know it's annoying, but if you want to see debates, we have to get more people in here. The way you think you're smart. Well, prove me wrong. Go ahead and give us arguments, right? Give me a counter argument. I'm not here to say that I know everything, but I'm here to say that, hey, I care about good arguments. And if you have one, I'd love to see it.
Yo,
Hi, how are you?
am I? Hey, so do you think everybody should go vegan or just certain type of people?
Well, veganism is an ethical stance. I think everybody can be vegan and therefore should be vegan, but it doesn't mean that it's a diet, right? There's a difference between diet and ethics. But yes, I think that most people can be vegan and should be vegan for the most part.
But do you think everybody will benefit the same? Because I don't think some people will actually get the right nutrition from it, you know?
Veganism has nothing to do with benefits to your health. It has to do with ethics. But anybody can be sufficient if they're getting the right nutrients in their bodies. Anybody can be vegan. This is like not just me talking. This is the position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which say that anybody can be vegan if they're getting proper nutrition.
But yeah, but the thing I look at it, man, you only eating nothing but, not eating meat, you will lose a lot of nutrition too.
Like what? Give me an example of something I'm not getting in my diet that I have to get.
All right, may omega. You won't get
Beans have omegas, fruits have omega-3s, nuts and seeds, all those have omega-3s.
how about the nutrition for growth hormone? Do you think you could get that from vegan itself only?
Growth hormone?
Yeah, the hormone hormone that will help you like with your
Like
bones, with your hair.
that's just we get that from proteins.
Okay, and I understand
The body makes that.
you could get protein from not eating meat, but do you think you could actually get the right amount of protein?
Absolutely. Lentils have like 14 grams per cup. Like peanut butter has tons of protein in it, and it's very cheap and affordable. Beans, pastas, rices, even fruits and vegetables have protein.
Interesting. I didn't know that, to be honest. Because my thing is about just eating fruit or vegetable, and I feel that you would not definitely get the right amount of protein.
I don't eat just fruits and vegetables. I eat all kinds of varieties of grains and beans and nuts and seeds, legumes, pastas, rices, and fruits and vegetables too.
Because one of your main thing that you believe about going vegan is because how they kill or rape the animal, correct?
Yeah.
Sorry, I read a comment, but then I don't think all the time you could kill. You don't have to kill or rape the animal to actually be able to produce enough animal to to actually sustain yourself.
Right.
Maybe
But
here in the
still
States,
harming an animal. It doesn't matter how many people it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're still killing and harming an animal. Why? What justifies that?
man, like I said, just to get the meal that you need for your body and nutrition. I think the reason why you're doing it is not as bad as you just killing it,
But you don't need the meat for your body. You could be healthy as a vegan.
Because we do a lot of damage. So not only we don't only kill the animal, but let's say the houses, right? A lot of those houses are built on the wood, where you got to destroy the trees to get the wood to build the houses. So do you think that's pretty much the same? You're destroying those animal houses or places to live?
No, because vegans actually cause way less deforestation. Meat eaters, we have to kill more trees and more land just to make land for your animals to roam and feed. So you're killing way more trees, you're killing way more plants, you're destroying way more stuff, including the animals.
But yeah, but when you're doing it for, like, for example, you live in a regular house that's probably made out of wood, you're still doing the same thing. You got to do another stuff to actually justify yourself of being like a full vegan, to actually protect the animal, protect the environment.
What do you think veganism means? It doesn't mean I'm perfect and I kill no trees, I kill no entity. That's not what veganism means. It means you want to minimize cruelty. You're not. You're maximizing cruelty. Why? What justifies your maximization of cruelty?
Just a fact. The type of vitamin and nutrition you get for the food, like, I don't think you're
Give
doing
me
anything
one
wrong.
vitamin that I have to get from meat.
One vitamin that you need to. How about B12?
Mushrooms have B12, fortified foods, nutritional yeast, all kinds of beans have B12.
So you, as a fully vegan, you don't eat meat at all, right? How about eggs? Do you eat eggs?
No,
No,
why
nothing.
would you want to eat a pureed of a chicken?
I don't know, man. That's interesting, man. Man, I appreciate you bringing me up, man.
Okay, great. No problem. Have a good day. Creatine, your body makes creatine in the liver. You don't need it from foods. It's not essential. Yes, enough. Your body makes enough of it. You don't need to get any from
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you, Mike? I apologize for my English because it's not my first language, but I'm gonna go with veganism. What do you think about animal testing in labs in order to create like new medicine for like treating like disease like diabetes, cancer, and all that? Isn't that's ethical?
Yeah.
Because we can trust our body to heal itself. So why using
Yeah,
animals?
look, there are some instances where animal testing might be required, but we are now with technology able to avoid animal testing for a large part. So we should be weaning off of any animal testing we can, and that's what I support. Now, I agree that there are some instances where animal testing is required, and I think that's justified. I think that human life, I think, is more valuable in many ways, but I don't think we should just be going, oh, okay, let's just kill as many animals as we can to test them. I think that's wrong. I think we should minimize animal testing as much as possible.
Don't you think that's kind of unethical? Like saying, "Oh, we need animal testing in some cases." It's like saying me, "Oh, I'm not a vegan," and I respect if you want to be a vegan, that's your choice. But isn't that kind of like saying, "Oh, I feel sorry for the animal, but I'm gonna eat it anyways"? So it's kind of like saying the same thing. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
because when it comes to eating an animal, there's no reason, there's no value in eating an animal that supersedes somebody's life, a human's life, right? That's the point here. There's no reason to eat an animal.
Okay, I understand your point, but for me, I mean, I'm not gonna say I do it because I like the taste and all that. And I'm not gonna go with, oh, how are you gonna get the
Right.
nutrients? Because I know we're gonna say, oh, with vegetables have nutrients, grains.
So
So
so you value so what you're saying is you value the taste of somebody over their life.
no, 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 not exactly. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, great. So you can't use taste as a justification for killing somebody.
Okay, but what about it's my personal choice? You know?
Okay, it's your personal choice to rape. Should we go raping because it's a personal choice? No. Just because we can
No.
choose something doesn't
Oh,
mean
no,
we
no,
should do
no.
it.
I haven't said that. Besides, it's illegal to do it. But
Okay,
it's not. It's not illegal killing animals to eat them.
but the
And I
point,
respect your choice of
legality does not dictate morality. Legalities only maybe suggest morality. But the point here is that at the end of the day, you don't have a reason to kill an animal. You don't. There's no justification for doing so to me, unless you can point out the morally relevant difference.
no, no, not really. I just wanted to get in the point with you about animal testing and all that, because I'm not gonna go over the nutrients that we need for our body when we consume meat because
All right, guys, keep tapping. Let's get some more people in here. But thank you, last guest, for being here. Thank you. Hello.
Hello?
How old are you?
What did you say?
How old are you?
26. Oh my gosh.
Okay. What do you got for us today?
No, it's mostly a question. I'm not like gonna debate or anything, but like, what's your take on like people? So I saw a few stories of people who struggled with really terrible acne, really bad like inflammation within the body, and it turned out that once they started eating meat, that went away, and like that had something to do with like their genetics. And
Yeah, I can say anecdotally, I can say that my acne went away as a vegan. Like, so you don't actually have a point. There's no actual research that shows you must eat meat to get rid of acne. And by the way, there are people who go keto and eat the meat, and of course they're going to feel better because they're not eating as many processed junk food. That's another reason why people feel better when they eat meat. But in the long term studies show that meat eating actually raises risk of cancers, heart attack, stroke, disease, all kinds of bad things. So, and by the way, veganism is not about health, it's about ethics.
yeah, no, I get that, but I'm saying like, and even with research that shows that there's diseases, there's always going to be like anomalies in terms of like some people's health might depend on eating meat. Like some people, I know there's like stories.
There's no evidence that anybody on this planet must eat meat to survive. That's nonsense to me.
Not to survive, but to have a higher quality of living. There are
There's no evidence.
where that's
There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence to me that you must eat meat to have a high quality of life. That I don't see evidence to that.
So what would you say to somebody who needed that though?
Well,
like what if they
show me evidence that you need to eat it, number one. And if you have to, okay, great, fantastic. But you're talking about maybe 1 or 2 people on the planet. 99.999% of us do not need to eat meat and shouldn't.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm talking about the anomaly cases, not
okay. There's always anomalies. Look, there's no such thing as a perfect world, but at the same time, what we can do is minimize cruelty as much as we can. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's true, but
have a good day. Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
Great. What do you got?
I just wanted to let you know that there is some vitamins in meat that plants can give you, like B12, and also the iron that you get from eating meat is not the same as the iron you get from eating plants. The one that you get from eating meat absorbs easier into the body, and you would have to eat way more plants to get the amount of iron that you would get from eating one piece of meat.
Yeah, no, so that's all incorrect. So B12 is found in mushrooms and beans and all kinds of nutritional yeast.
It only comes from animal products.
Hold on. Hold on. B12 does not come from meat. It comes from bacteria. Now, B12 is found in mushrooms. It's found in fortified foods, nutritional yeast, spirulina, all kinds of different greens and things like that. There's no need to eat meat for B12. In terms of iron is found in.
And even though you would have to eat
Hold
you
on.
would have to eat way more.
Hold on.
And the iron in plants is not the same as the.
Hold on. Iron is found in sufficient quantities in spinach and greens and leafy vegetables and even beans and seeds and nuts. Iron is found in plentiful amounts in many vegan foods. And by the way, heme iron is not good. You don't want heme iron to be that bioavailable because guess what? That stuff is toxic. It can be toxic in certain quantities. Plant-based
What
proteins,
I've heard is better for you.
Plant-based
It
iron
absorbs
is
better into
very
your body.
fine and sufficient for our bodies to be healthy. There's no need
At
to
the end of the day, what I'm saying is that you need to grow more plants, which is going to take the same amount. If we change to only plants, we're going to use the same amount because we're going to need more production of plants for people to eat way more than they would take.
No, that's
I think
incorrect.
so.
Yeah, so here's a study, actually. Here's the research that shows you're wrong. It's called Reducing Food's Environmental Impacts to Producers and Consumers. This is an Oxford study demonstrated through a peer review, and it shows that 75% of the land is used for animal agriculture. And if everybody were to go vegan, we could feed everybody on the planet, calorie-wise, and only use about 75% less land. So we would actually save land by being vegan.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not talking about the land. I'm talking about the amount that you have to produce. I mean, we have enough. We have enough land. That
You
is
need
not
to
an issue.
produce less crops and hence less land.
No, you would have to produce more because you need more to eat more to get the same vitamins that you do from eating meat.
No, this study I just showed you demonstrates that we can calorie-wise feed everybody on the planet and use less land. Can you demonstrate otherwise?
Yeah, because one piece of leaf doesn't have the same amount of iron and vitamins of one piece of meat. One piece of
One
meat
cup of
gives you
spinach.
more.
1 cup of spinach has 70% of it
Eating too much
already in iron.
spinach can be bad for you. It's bad for your teeth also.
No, it is not. There's no. Why are you making all these assumptions with no evidence?
Making assumptions. Also, you're only talking about benefits
Okay, great.
of
So then, if you're not making assumptions,
you're only talking about
okay,
physical
sir,
benefits.
sir, shh. If you're not making assumptions, then go ahead and give the data. Now it's your time to give the data. I gave you my data, which you didn't fucking counter. So go ahead and give me your data, buddy. Give me your
Yeah,
data.
whatever. I'm not gonna go look for it. But still, you're only talking about physical harm when you talk about veganism. But there can also be mental harm if you make someone go from just eating meat and they can go into depression and even commit
That's
suicide.
nonsense. There is no evidence that vegans are gonna go be depressed. That's nonsense. You're talking out of your ass. You have no data. You have no science. You have no
Vegans that
study.
go vegan
Did you,
by
sir,
choice.
sir? Most people on the planet are not vegan, and guess what? Many people that are depressed eat meat. Does that mean meat causes depression?
No,
No.
if you force people,
So
to
again,
go vegan, people are gonna be depressed.
okay, and how would I force you to go vegan? How is that happening?
Because you want to pass regulations in which we don't
Regulations?
raise cattle anymore.
Which regulations?
Okay, so in your perfect vegan country,
Sir,
there's no
what regulations are we
there's no
forcing
cows,
on
right?
you? Sir, what are we
There's no
forcing on
cows.
you?
There's no cows
Sir,
being
what are we
slaughtered
forcing
in
on
your
you? What
vegan.
are we,
Answer my question. Answer my
sir,
question.
listen very carefully. How are we forcing you to be vegan?
I'm saying in your hypothetical world, if you make everyone go vegan against their
Nope, that's
will,
not my world. I never said I'll make you go vegan, did I?
okay, then how do you plan to make everyone go vegan?
Debating, talking, conversing, activism.
You're not gonna change anyone's mind with that.
We already have.
Okay, you just because you've changed a couple of minds doesn't mean you're gonna get everyone.
We've
You
changed
can't just
millions of
advocate for a
people's
world.
minds,
You
and
should be
that number is
advocating for a better
increasing, sir.
system.
Just because you're a slave owner in 1805, and you think that other people around you who are advocating against slavery they're only changing a couple people's minds. You're basically the person advocating for slavery. This is the argumentation you're presenting for
The
us.
difference we're talking about animals, not humans.
What's the difference between animals and people that morally justifies killing them and enslaving them?
What do you say? You lied.
What is the morally relevant difference between humans and animals that justifies killing and enslaving animals?
Animals don't have the same type of consciousness that we have.
They absolutely do. Cows are conscious. Pigs are quite conscious. Chickens are conscious. All animals are conscious to a degree.
They don't have the level of consciousness that we have.
Okay. Does a baby have consciousness?
There's levels of consciousness.
Guillermo, do babies have consciousness like you do?
Yeah, they do. They have that capability. They have the
No,
capability
that's
of
not what I asked.
developing
That's not what I asked
the
you.
same
That's not what I
consciousness
asked
that we
you,
have.
sir.
Yes, cows cannot develop
Oh my
the same.
gosh. Maybe your Wi-Fi's off, but just listen to me, sir. You're saying that you get to rape and abuse animals because they're not as conscious as me. Number one, this is fucked up. But more importantly,
Yeah, they
babies, hold on. Let me get the argument out. Babies that are human are not as conscious as you. In fact, babies are less conscious than pigs and chickens and cows. So, would that
they have
justify
the
babies?
capability of getting to our
That's
level
not
of
what I asked
consciousness.
you, though. Okay, if you want to do this
But that's
nonsense,
what I'm arguing.
okay,
I don't
great.
care what you
So,
ask me. That's what I'm arguing.
great. So, if you want to do this nonsense, how about if there is a disabled person who will never have the same consciousness as you or me, and will have the same
It's
consciousness
human.
as an animal? Would
It's
it be okay?
human.
But it has the same
It's
consciousness as
human.
an animal.
No, it's a conjunction of the level of consciousness and the humanity.
Okay, great.
If one
So
of
you're
them is
saying that,
present,
so
then
you're
you
saying,
can't.
okay. So you're saying that the only reason why you get to rape and abuse animals is because they're a different species than you. Is that correct?
Well, no, it's just the ones that we have designated for eating.
Okay, if I designate you for
We
eating,
don't eat every animal. I have a dog. I don't eat my dog.
Guillermo, if I designate you for eating, should I be able to eat you?
I am human and I have consciousness. That would be
Okay,
defying my other ethical rule.
great. So then it's not consciousness, it's just being a humanhood.
No,
Is that
it's
correct?
a conjunction of humanity and consciousness.
Okay,
Well, the level of
but I
consciousness.
just showed you that there are babies or disabled people who are less conscious than you and me.
They are still human. It's a conjunction.
Okay, great. So then, at the end of the day, the crux of the issue is that the only reason why you get to kill
Listen,
animals.
if an alien
Guillermo, relax. Look, you have to relax. Relax and listen.
if an alien came down today
Oh my
and
gosh.
they
Stop and listen. Look, you have to listen to me. At the end of the day, what really justifies your actions are the fact that we are human and they're a different species than us. Because you agree that consciousness is irrelevant. Because, baby, you would never kill a disabled person, right? So it's the humanhood.
No, because it's a conjunction. You're just going in
Okay.
circles. You're not getting it.
You're not getting it. It's very ironic. You're not
You're
getting
not getting it. Let me give you my analogy. Ready?
You're derailing and you're not
Okay.
engaging in the conversation. But go ahead.
If an alien comes down and they have the same, I am engaging. Listen to my analogy. If an alien came down and they have the same level of consciousness as we do, they're not human, but we're not going to kill it because it has consciousness, the same level of consciousness as we do. So it's not just being human or just having consciousness, it's having either of those.
Okay, great. So if there is a disabled person who had as much consciousness as a cow, would you kill that person?
It's human. It's human.
Great.
How
So
many
then
times
it's
do I have
not
to explain
conscious.
this?
Then you can factor out consciousness. It's just being human. Okay? So what you're saying now is being human means you get to rape animals. So if there was
Yeah,
a
if
population
you're
of people,
conscious
we're
or
done.
human.
You're not, your Wi-Fi is shitty. Okay? You got to fix your Wi-Fi. What Guillermo's arguing for is the fact that we're human and they're animals. The problem with saying this is that we can hypothetically imagine a population of people who were gray-skinned. They had certain genetic code that rendered them a different species. They were slightly different from us in a way that we could not reproduce with them. In that sense, Guillermo would say, yes, we get to kill those people because they're not the same species as me, right? That's the problem. This logic leads you to ridiculous scenarios where you would advocate for killing other people who are just as conscious as us, but we're just a different species. That's the problem. I don't think anybody rational would ever agree to that. So the reason why I don't want to harm animals is because I don't see a morally relevant difference that's sufficient enough to warrant my actions towards those animals, because in where we are equal to the animals is what matters. We are conscious, we are sentient, we don't want to die, and we don't have to die. Hey, what do you got?
Hi. So I agree, God is imaginary. evolution's a fact and humans cause climate change. I personally would never go vegan. However, I do disagree with the way people treat animals before killing them. A lot of the time, the animals could be abused or.
Okay, I understand. Look, I love how people come up here and say, I love animals. Then why do you abuse them and rape them?
Yes, that is what I agree.
You
Like,
can't
people
say
shouldn't
you
do that.
love you can't say you love animals, then you kill them. That's not love to me, right? So what justifies your actions of raping and killing animals?
I disagree with it. I completely disagree with it.
So then why are you not vegan?
Because I have a severe vitamin D deficiency, and I've talked to my doctor already because I actually did want to go vegan, and they told me that it was not the best health choice for me, at least until I get this solved and due to anemia. So they told me at least until I get that
Yeah.
solved.
How many doctors' opinions did you get? Because doctors are not nutritionists, right? Doctors are just medical advisors. They give you certain, medical things. They don't actually know what nutrition means. So have you talked to nutritionists or plant-based nutritionists?
I have to talk to nutritionists.
You've talked to plant-based nutritionists.
Not plant-based.
Yeah, I would go take a look at a plant-based nutritionist and see what they have to say about it, But yeah, I understand that there are certain things you might have or troubles you might have, but vitamin D is found in many vegan foods, and I guarantee you, if you found vegan sources of vitamin D, you'd be just fine. But I would go talk to a nutritionist about that, okay?
All right, and I don't get why people want to argue so rudely. A debate is usually supposed to be a friendly conversation.
It's okay. Trust me, being a debater comes with being hot, being heated, and being passionate. I never take it personally.
Yeah, hello, Mike. I'm just interested in your take on Bill Gates is building massive factories to breed billions of crickets to feed us on crickets instead of cows, sheep, and pigs. What's your take on that?
That's nonsense. Next.
Shit, I wasn't ready. Hello?
Hi, what do you got?
Hi. I wasn't ready. I was like trying to post a comment. Anyways, I heard you say something about like people that eat meat, like rape animals. I don't understand that.
Well, when we breed cows into existence, they don't come from the wild, right? We have to actually forcibly impregnate them. We have to shove our fists down their you-know-whats and literally stimulate them sexually against their will. So I would call that rape.
I don't know. You kept saying raping animals.
What do you think sexually stimulating somebody against their will means? Is that rape?
I don't know. All I know
I would call that rape. I would call that assault, at least, a sexual
I
assault.
guess. I don't. But you act like everyone that eats meat like rapes animals. I don't know.
Well, you're paying for it, right? That's the problem. You're paying for it. You pay for animals to be tortured in gas chambers and to be sexually assaulted.
I don't. I wish I could be vegan or like
Then
whatever, but we
You
had
can.
like the. Huh?
Go vegan.
We
then.
had this cow that lives on a farm right next to my house. And we love that cow. I wish I could like not eat meat, but
Look, I don't understand when people come up here and they say, I wish I could be vegan. I love animals. Then change. Look, no one's going to change for you. I can't go to your house and go vegan. Wake you up every morning. Go vegan. Go vegan. I can't be at your side I can't hold your hand every step of the way. You have to take the initiative and change. And that change comes with learning, debating, conversing, talking, exposing yourself to new information. That's what it takes to change. I'm not a motivational guy. I'm not going to be like, go vegan, go vegan. You have to do that for yourself, right? So all I can do is expose you to the arguments that might change your mind. But yeah, I don't get that logic.
Hello?
Hey, what do you got?
Oh, so I got a question about veganism.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I just turned 18 back in January.
Way too young. Next. Hey, what do you got?
Yo, bro, you're a vegan, huh?
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 22, bro.
All right, what do you got?
I don't know, bro. I'm gonna eat meat all day, dog. I mean, I feel like animals would eat you if they fucking could.
You sound
So,
like your mom. Your mom said that
that's
last night to
true.
me. She ate my meat all night.
I
So
know, bro. You're
yeah,
too skinny.
I mean, eating meat is just fine if you're your mom, and I understand that. So thanks,
Yo,
man.
wait, one more thing.
Have a good day, man. Your mama said hi. All right, so the next, get the next victim in here.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what do you got?
How you doing? How you doing? I just wanted to ask, like, what is it about, like, going vegan? Is it about respecting nature, respecting animals? That's the main
Yeah,
purpose.
it's about respecting animals. Like, do you want to harm animals or help them? I want to help them, right? It's that simple.
And how about nature in general?
Well, I can't be nature's policeman. I can't stop all bad things that happen in nature, but I can minimize my actions in
Yeah,
regards to.
so it's basically about respecting nature, right?
No, it's about respecting animals. And I think that we should not harm animals. Why do you think we should harm animals?
Well, because nature allows it.
Nature also allows graping. Should we grape?
I mean, we decide what's good and what's bad, right? Like, so what I was trying to say is like, from my perspective,
No,
it's mainly about respecting nature. It's what it is, right? But like,
I don't know
if
what it means
nature
to,
made
I don't know
us,
what it means to respect nature. I don't know what that means. In what way you respect nature by
so
really killing
okay,
it?
so animals are like a living being. Is that why? You don't want us to eat animals?
They're
Because they are
sentient.
living
They
beings?
don't want to die. They don't have to die. They're sentient beings like you and me.
Yes, but generally speaking, they're still living beings, right? But plants are living beings too. So do we discriminate on, like, it has to be sentient for them to not, for it to be okay to not, if they're not
Well, look,
sentient,
morally, we value
it's okay
animals
to kill
because,
living things?
sir, hold on. Let me respond here, please.
Okay, go
The
ahead, go ahead.
reason why we value animals morally more than plants is because plants are not sentient. I understand that we should care about plants too, but that means to go vegan. You're just arguing for veganism if you care about nature, because vegans are protecting nature way more than you are. We
No,
use less
but
carbon emissions, we kill less trees, we kill less animals. We're doing way better for nature. So I don't understand what your argument is here.
it's just about like respecting nature. If nature made us omnivore, that means that we're supposed to be omnivore. We're supposed to be eating meat or
We don't
vegetables,
have
whatever
to
it is.
eat meat. We don't have to eat
Yeah,
meat.
we don't have to,
So
but
then
we
why
were
should we do
meant
it?
to.
Then why should we do it if we don't have to?
It's a matter of balance. There's like invasive species that ravages nature. We just do it to keep the balance. It's a matter of balance,
But
pretty
where's
much.
the balance in stuffing 90 billion animals in gas chambers per year and killing millions of fish, extracting them from the ocean and destroying the world around us for what? That's not a balance. That's an imbalance. That's destruction. That's not balance to me. You're causing way more harm to the world around you by far.
I doubt it, because we've been living this far, how many billions of years, and then we've pretty much been living like that as omnivores. So
No, we have
so
not.
far we still we survived as a
Animal
species
agriculture
the way
is
we
something new to us, relatively speaking, in our species history. We have only just began farming in factories, and that's harming the planet, harming animals by far. And there's no need for it to happen anymore. We don't have to do things because our ancestors did it. We can change now. We can change.
change, but in my perspective, it's still like they're still living beings. So if it's a matter of like respecting living things, like it doesn't make sense to
Sir,
go and kill
do you
vegetables.
cry when you brush your teeth because the bacteria in your tooth might die?
No,
Oh no, I'm killing the bacteria. Do you
no,
cry?
no,
Okay, great.
no.
So just because something's living doesn't make it sentient,
I
right?
don't cry when I'm in a killed chicken. I don't cry either, because it's the law of nature.
But
I mean, if I was
chickens,
made a herbivore, I will
look,
respect the fact that I'm a herbivore.
chickens can cry, they can feel pain, they can emotionally process pain and suffer. Did you know that?
Yeah,
Okay, great. So why do you cause them suffering when you don't have to?
because that's what we're meant to be by nature. I mean,
What nature
we're
says
meant to eat
strangle
meat. We are
animals?
omnivores.
What about our nature says we have to gas animals to death? What about our nature
I mean,
says?
this better means to like end a life. I would say that I would support like a better, like a more human ways to like kill an
Okay,
animal.
give me one humane way to slaughter an animal who did not have to be slaughtered. Give me one humane way.
Snap the neck of the chicken really fast. The nerves is gone and
Oh,
it's
that's
dead.
very humane and compassionate. Such a compassionate
Yeah.
way to murder somebody. Okay, great. If I snap your neck, would that be compassionate, humane?
Is there a reason for you to snap my neck per se
I
for
like
survival?
the way your body tastes.
Well, that's kind of weird, but okay. If it's for survival, if sure, like if it's for your
It's
survival,
not for
if you
survival, sir.
can,
It's because I like the way your body tastes when it's fried in KFC buckets. Do I get to kill you now because it's a humane neck cracking?
that analogy sounds really weird, but
It's your
okay.
logic. This is your logic. You love to snap the necks of animals and others.
No, you asked me of a human way to kill an animal, and I took the example of a chicken, for example. You know.
Okay, and I
I
showed
mean,
you
even in
that snapping the neck
nature,
of somebody is not humane. It would not be humane to a person. Why is it humane to an animal who is just as sentient and conscious and aware?
but okay, so even in nature, between sentient beings, they still kill each other for survival because nature decided so. So, are we supposed to like deny what nature says if it's about respecting nature?
Okay, great. So let's appeal to nature now.
Mhm.
Cows sniff their own asses. Should we go around and sniff each other's asses too?
But we're not cows, though, are we?
Oh, but that's what they did in nature. See, this is where your logic leads. You're gonna follow whatever nature is doing. This is ridiculous. This is a naturalistic fallacy, right? At the end of the day, we don't have to be like cows. We don't have to be like nature. We have cars, we have TVs, we have phones. Is that natural? Did we evolve to have phones?
No, but you're comparing
great.
different species.
So why the
We're not
fuck?
fish. We can't breathe in the water. It's like each species have their own ways of like existing.
Yeah, and we should not go out of our way to harm those species, right? We there's no reason to harm other species at all. Like there's no reason. Like we can just be vegan and minimize cruelty. That's what I'm doing. I don't see why we should do what you're doing.
Well, we can't do it because nature allows it. So this is pretty much it.
Nature allows rape. Nature allows assault. Nature allows many disgusting things. Should we do everything that nature allows because we can?
No.
Great. So then why should we murder animals if we don't have to?
Well, we kind of have to for our survival.
No, we don't. We can eat plant-based foods instead and survive just as fine.
Yeah, we could do that too, but that doesn't mean we should just do that. Or,
Well, isn't it better? Isn't it more ethical to not harm others? Right.
I don't think it's unethical to just eat animal if nature made us an omnivore. I don't think so.
Omnivores don't have to eat meat. They can eat anything they want to. They can eat plants instead.
Yes, that is true, but that also means that we can also eat meat. And plus, life is about. Okay, go ahead.
Just because we can eat meat, by the way, we can eat human meat. Should we eat humans?
No, because it's about the survival of our own species.
Okay, so just because we can eat people doesn't mean we should. So why should we eat animals? What's the difference between eating people and animals?
We shouldn't eat people because it's about like our own survival. Like like preserving our own species. So if we were to like allow eating people meat, and it's gonna go wild, and it's just gonna go, you know.
No, look. Why should we? What makes you think we get to kill other animals but not humans? What's the morally relevant difference between these individuals?
Wait, what? Could you repeat that?
What is the morally relevant difference between a cow and a human, right? What reason justifies morally killing a cow but not a person?
So what moral relevance would it be to kill a plant than a person?
Plants are not sentient.
It's still a living being. It's still a living organism.
Okay, so is my left ass cheek. So is bacteria in your mouth.
Okay.
It does, just because something's alive doesn't mean it's sentient. Okay?
But just because it's sentient doesn't mean it's not important.
Exactly.
It's still a living
That's why other animals
organism.
are important, because they're sentient.
So wait, you saying the animals are more important because they're sentient?
They're morally as important as humans, because we're both sentient. We're both conscious. We both don't want to die and don't have to.
Well, if the plants are alive, if the plants comes into existence, it means they want to live too, right? Even though they're not sentient.
No.
Either way, why would they be there?
Plants don't have brains. They don't want anything. They don't have desires. They're plants. They don't think. They just do things. They just react to stimuli in their environment, just like bacteria.
Oh, so they're being discriminated because they don't have brains as a living thing. Okay.
Sir, look, we have to eat something to survive. What's better, to take a cow and slaughter it for no fucking reason, or to eat a carrot? Which one's less suffering to you?
I feel like the cow is gonna feed a lot of the tribe, not the carrot.
Oh my gosh, sir. You would rather slaughter and abuse and sexually assault 90 billion cows than just eating carrots?
Why do you have to put in like sexually assault?
Because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing to these animals.
I never sexually assaulted an animal.
Well, you're paying for it. You're paying for farmers to do that.
Okay.
Why?
They did it.
Why? Why do you get to kill and abuse animals?
Well, because of the number of population, there has to be like a demand of like food supplies. Then they have to supply more food.
We can feed everybody on the planet on a vegan diet and actually save more plants. So your entire argument collapses because we can actually save more plants by being vegan.
Save more plants by being vegans.
Okay?
Okay.
Have a good day.
But that doesn't also mean you have to be vegan.
You're right. We don't have to be vegan. We don't have to not abuse others. We don't have to be nice, but we should, right? like I can walk around the street and assault people, but we shouldn't do that because we don't have to, right? Like it's that simple, guys. It's just doing the right thing. It's just taking into moral consideration people around you, the animals around you. That's all it means, guys. Non-vegans think too hard about this. It's very simple.
Yeah, but you're forcing us to go vegan. Like it says here, God is imaginary, go vegan. Like, I'm not being funny, but why do you want to go vegan? You need the meat, you need the protein, you need to have the food in
So
your
give us
system.
one nutrient in meat that I have to get from meat.
You need the meat in your system. You need
Why?
the
Why do I need
calcium and the
meat? Why do I
vitamins.
need meat? Why do I need meat?
Why do you need meat? Well, why do you think you need meat to live? Not being funny, but look at all the lions and the tigers.
What about meat? What about meat?
No,
What about
listen,
meat?
listen. I've seen these so many times. Yeah. At the end of the day, what about all the lions? What about all the tigers? What about the bears? What about the hyenas? They're all carnivores, yeah.
But we're not. We don't have to eat animals. We can eat plant-based
Yeah, but
foods.
we're not.
And by
Yeah,
the
but
way,
we're not
there's plen-
carnivores.
there's
We're
plenty of-
omnivores, yeah.
There's plenty of iron in plants, by the way, guys. So there's no need to eat meat.
So what iron is in plants?
Iron. Iron's an
Yeah,
element. It's found in plants. It's a mineral found in plants.
What
Leafy greens,
plants have
spinach, leafy
iron?
greens, beans, nuts and seeds all have iron.
Yeah, but beans isn't a plant though, is it?
Yes, they are. They're plant-based. Ma'am, do you have an argument?
No, I'm just saying, like, you need the protein in your system. You need the
Okay.
food. You need the meat. You need
Beans,
the iron. You need.
beans have protein. Beans have iron.
Does the beans actually carry iron though?
Yes,
Has
plenty of it.
it actually
Lentils,
got?
beans, pasta,
Has it actually got the protein? It's actually got the food that
Yes,
you
it's
need
actually
in your
got the
system to keep
protein.
you
It's actually
healthy
got the
and strong.
proteins. A cup of lentils has 17 grams of protein. That's comparable to a meat product.
Learn how to spell my name correctly, yeah? And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm saying what I'm saying. At the end of the day, you need
You're
the
just
food,
saying
you need the
this.
protein, you need the meat in your food.
You said I forced you, but how am I forcing you to go vegan when you chose to be here in the first place? How am I forcing it on you?
Because it says here, God is imagining we go vegan. You're forcing us to go vegan by saying go vegan.
How is that forcing you?
I'm just saying what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day,
No, we
you're
don't know
saying
what you
here,
mean,
God is
man.
imaginary. Go vegan. Why
Ma'am,
should
how are
we
we
go
forcing
vegan?
you? Ma'am,
You explain to me what you explain to me why should we go vegan?
Because I don't want to harm or abuse innocent animals.
But they're not actually being abused, though, are they?
They are in
They are
factories.
born and bred. They are born and bred for food.
Oh, really? Okay. If we bred people into existence for food, should we be able to
Yeah, I
eat
fucking
people?
need people to survive. If there was people on this earth, I would eat people to survive. If there was no animals left,
But
I would eat
we
people
don't
to
have to eat
survive.
people to survive. We don't have to eat animals to survive either.
But you do need animals to survive.
Why? Why?
They are the ones that carry the food. They are the ones that even help with the food.
Ma'am,
Think
why?
about it. They are
Ma'am,
also the ones that help, like, they manure all of your plant-based meals.
why do we need to eat animals to survive?
What do you mean, why do we need animals to survive? They carry the food. They help. They even help the vegans.
Ma'am, animals have meat on their bodies. So do humans. I can eat you just
So wait,
as well.
hold on.
Are you made of food too?
Like, you're vegan, yeah? Do you drink water?
Yeah, why?
So technically, you are drinking a fish's. You are drinking a fish's home.
Man, water's recyclable, man. Do you know what the water cycle is?
Well, yeah, that's
Water,
why the fish is fucking
it rains
water
from
on.
the
Like, at the
sky.
end of the day, you are
Man,
drinking.
water,
You are drinking. You are drinking.
man, water rains from the sky and it recycles itself. If I piss on the ground, it will evaporate and go back into the ground, into soil.
Scratch me head, like, you know what I
cannot
mean?
waste water. You literally cannot waste water. You can't get rid of it.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm sorry, but you're drinking a fish's home because that's where the fishes and the sharks live, yeah. And you're saying you're vegan, yeah. You're drinking water from that. You are drinking water from the ocean.
By the way, vegans use 54% less water than meat eaters. You have to use way more water to feed the crops that you feed your animals that you slaughter. So if you're against,
so technically you are using more water.
No, I just said
you're using more
less.
water.
I just said we're using less water.
No, I've not graduated from high school. I work at fucking McDonald's, mate. Leave me alone. Fuck off, man. Yeah, I work at McDonald's.
We can tell.
All right.
Oh man.
Hi. Would you eat meat for 100?
Yeah, and I'd buy you a vegan sandwich. Oh man, what a treat that was. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
So does this all fall apart if plants are sentient?
No, because vegans kill less plants. So being vegan is the best thing to do, even if plants are sentient. But they're not.
So at the end of the day, the argument, sorry. So at the end of the day, the argument is mainly it's completely just about doing less damage.
Not necessarily.
There
It's about intending to not harm animals,
is
but
going to
the
be done no
byproduct of
matter
that is
what.
that we do less.
But vegans feel like their philosophy is doing the least amount of damage
Yeah, it is. It is by far
to
doing
plant
the
life, to
on a global
animals.
scale. What?
Okay. I was asking. I wasn't making a statement. I was asking you if that's your belief.
It's a fact. We are killing less crops, killing less land, and killing less animals by far. All right.
Yep.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. How old are you?
20.
All right. What do you got?
Just about your God is imaginary thing. I just wanted
Mm-hmm.
to hear your kind of perspective on it. Is it more of a philosophical reason, as in there's a contradiction within the properties of what people call God, or just that's the reason?
Yeah, there's a lack of evidence. There's no philosophical arguments for it, and there's actually contradictions within the theistic paradigms.
Could you just to could you give me what you think is the
problem of evil, the evidential problem of evil, the omni paradoxes, divine hiddenness, all those are good arguments against God, I think.
Okay, so could we go into the problem of evil? Could you kind of give me your take on that?
If God is all good and desires us to all do good, God being omnipotent would make a world where would be able to achieve his desires and do anything he wants to. So it seems like the fact that there's evil in the world means that God either doesn't exist or wants us to do evil. So pick your poison.
Could that be answered based on karma and reincarnation though? Couldn't that just be answered based on that?
No, there's no fundamental reason why evil has to exist. There's no reason why it must exist or should. I think that evil can't exist if God is all good, and I wouldn't be able to actualize evil.
So evil can exist if God exists.
If God is all good, yes.
But can it be thought of or actualized, or just
I don't see how it would be, because if God is all good, it would also follow that God makes good beings, and with those good beings, they would not have the potential to do evil.
But what if God and the people itself are eternal? There's no person that makes the person, and there's no person that makes the God.
Then I don't see why there's no evil that should exist in that paradigm.
But if God never created the person's always been eternal, and the person wants to actualize evil, that wouldn't make God evil. That would make the person evil.
Why?
Why? I don't know why. I just explained why. If God doesn't create the person's eternal, their soul is eternal, and they actualize evil. Is God evil or is the person evil?
But this is a paradox, because most theistic versions of God say that God is antecedent to people or the universe, right? God is what created the universe, right? I don't think I've seen no theist I think that the universe is eternal. I haven't seen any single theist say that.
Well, Hinduism would say every person is eternal. There's never a time where God was created or a person.
Okay, well, that's a different story. You talk about Hinduism. Hinduism to me makes no sense either, but there's a lack of evidence for that Hindu gods.
So it's just, but I'm talking about the philosophical. I'm not getting into the evidence part yet. I'm just talking about the philosophical contradictions.
Yeah, I don't see any evidence of a Hindu gods.
No, I'm talking about the philosophical contradictions of the problem of evil, because I just wanted to discuss that part first.
if there is a being that is all good and actualizes everything around us, I don't see how evil can exist. It just seems to be paradoxical to me. What
Okay, so
explains
but
evil to you?
wait. But based on what I said, can we agree though first that God is not evil in nature, and it's the person that chooses to actualize it if we're eternal, and God did not create us?
No, I don't think that evil. If God is all good, and it depends on it depends on your version of theism or atheism or religion.
Wait, what do you,
If you're saying that under Hinduism, humans are just naturally evil, then of course evil should exist. That's perfectly fine. But most theists would disagree with that, right?
But okay, it doesn't really matter what most theists would say, though. It matters about
Okay,
how
great.
I'm
So then the
arguing.
problem of evil does not apply to your Hinduistic version of God. Okay, congratulations. But let's look at the other properties of God. Is it omnipotent? Is it all powerful? If
Yeah.
so, there could be a paradox there. Do we
All right.
have free will?
Wait, no. Lay it to me, the omnipotent one.
Well, do we have free will?
Yeah. Well, in a certain extent, it's somewhat deterministic. Somewhat, there's some free will.
What? It's either we have free will or not. I mean, which one is it?
No. It's like based on our karma, it's deterministic in that sense, but we have an ability to engage within those deterministic situations.
No, then everything would be determined. Right? It doesn't make sense to say that we have free will, then we don't have free will. It seems contradictory.
Okay, so where we're born into, that's determined. We have no choice about where we're born into, but we have the free will upon that to make actions based on that.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Actually, it's all okay. I guess you could technically say it's all deterministic then. Sure, yeah.
Okay, great. So then, yeah,
It's deterministic on our but it's deterministic based on our previous actions.
I don't see the difference between your God and just nature itself. Like, there's no difference to me. So I wouldn't even waste my time arguing with you because, like, you're probably a pantheist.
No,
right? It's like there's no point in talking to you because you don't believe in the theistic version of God.
I'm just saying that. Okay, well, I believe that God is a personal thing, is a personal entity, creator of the universe, all good, all powerful. In what sense is that pantheistic?
That's what pantheism means. It's like they typically believe in a God that's omnipotent and all those things, or a deist. This is like a deism kind of thing.
So then, how would that not entail theism, though?
Theism is a particular reason why the universe was created or things like that, right? There's like a theistic paradigm.
So what's a theistic paradigm then?
Like in terms of Christianity, like,
No, not because Christianity is just just in general.
Oh my gosh, sir, this is such a ridiculous conversation. Like at the end of the day, I debate typically theists. I don't debate Hindus because to me it's not worth my time.
Religion. Hinduism is a monotheistic religion.
No, it's not.
Yo, that's crazy.
It's a polytheistic. There's multiple Hindu gods.
No, you're actually so uninformed. That's crazy.
There's multiple Hindu gods.
No, that's oh my god, that's crazy. You just said that. You're actually so uninformed. Do you know the actual Vedas itself say that there is one God, but the different gods people worship are different manifestations or personifications of his qualities?
No, there's like literally multiple.
No
Hindu
way!
gods.
You're actually arguing with the Hindu.
No way! What do you mean? No way! This is what Hinduism entails. But it's irrelevant. This is such a dumb conversation, right?
So you can admit that you'll only debate Christians because you personally find the rationale that it's wrong.
There's no evidence of your Hindu garbage. There's no evidence of your Hindu shit.
Okay, so you're gonna call it
there's
Hindu
no evidence
garbage.
of this karma shit, right? Like, there's no evidence of it.
Okay, so you're gonna call it Hindu garbage and then proceed to say it's polytheistic, not knowing that it's literally monotheistic.
Yeah.
The oldest
So
monotheistic
do you actually have evidence of your gods?
Do I have evidence of my gods or God?
Yeah. Like, what's the evidence of your gods?
So, like, empirically, there is, like, I can't give you an empirical source of it, but it comes down to rationale of why I believe in it. Same way with
that's
you.
Not evidence, right?
Same way with you. It's based on a rationale. It's based on a rationale why you're atheist.
What?
It's based on a rationale why you're atheist. You don't have proof that God doesn't exist. So
That's
you
not
use
what I'm saying. I never said that I have proof that God doesn't exist in terms of your God, but we have logical arguments against certain versions of God. I
so
can't
what's
debunk every single possible God, right? That's impossible. That's why I don't talk to Hindus, because they believe in some kind of other thing. Some Hindus believe in many gods, some Hindus believe in one God. But
no, dude, I'm telling any Hindu that believes in that, that's literally like no Hindu believes that there's
yes, they do.
listen,
There are. Oh my gosh, it
can you
doesn't
give me
matter.
evidence? Can you give me
Look, sir,
evidence?
this is
Can you give
such
me
a
evidence?
dumb conversation. This is such a waste of time. Look, give me evidence of your God or go away. It's that simple. Just give us evidence of your God. Give us evidence of your what's it called? The Brahma or Vishnu or Shiva, the different gods that you believe in. By the way, there are 3 gods.
No, those are 3 manifestations of the one God. You have the creator,
Oh yeah. So you believe in the 3-in-1 kind of thing, like toothpaste at Walmart, 3-in-1.
That's not how. Okay, for
Yeah.
example.
So do you actually have any evidence of these gods before I kick you?
Okay, it's based on a rationale, like I just said. If I can, okay, for example, if I have a rationale to believe that consciousness is not purely an emergent property from the brain.
Yeah. What's your evidence of that?
Okay, so are you aware of the Aware 2 study?
The what?
The Aware 2 study done
The
by the
Aware
NYU,
2 study? No, I don't know what that is.
done by the NYU School of Medicine.
No, what's it demonstrate?
Okay, it demonstrates that well, when people have these cardiac arrests, there's no blood flow to the brain within the first 20 to 30 seconds, and in that time, it's pretty clinically research well documented that within the first 20 to 30 seconds after there's a lack of blood flow to the brain, there's a cessation of brain activities done through EEGs and other
Yeah, the brain is still active even though there's no blood flow, right? The brain can still be
No.
active.
But the EEG doesn't recall any brain function because there's a lack of.
That doesn't mean the brain is inactive. That just means we can't measure it.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, and then that's a fair assumption though that we can't measure it. But wouldn't you just say that's that's just atheism of the gap, saying that just because that we're just jumping that we can't measure it?
No, you're making the claim that there is something beyond the natural world that describes consciousness. You have said that, oh, look, here's a study that says there's activity in the brain. That doesn't mean anything. It actually doesn't even point to God. It doesn't point to anything except for, hey, there might be a gap in our knowledge. That's the best it can get to. So I'm sorry, sir, but this is not good evidence at all for Hindu God.
But that wasn't what the study proved, though.
Exactly. That's what you're trying to make it seem like it did.
No, I literally just said that it's based on current evidence that I look at. It's hard for me to purely believe that the consciousness is purely just emergent.
That's not evidence. Saying it's hard for me to believe is not evidence.
All right, bro. All right. For example, I believe in abiogenesis. Do I have sufficient evidence, like pure empirical data, to prove that?
Yes, there's lots of evidence for abiogenesis, more than you can even imagine.
Could you show me? Could you, as someone who literally firmly believes in abiogenesis, could you just show me any empirical data that proves abiogenesis?
We can make RNA in labs. We can polymerize RNA with.
So we can polymerize RNA. Can you detail the polymerization reactions based on the atmospheric conditions that were detailed in early Earth?
Yes, we can literally produce RNA molecules in the lab.
I would actually like to use that study then, just to show people abiogenesis.
We can recreate the conditions of the. First of all, we don't have to replicate the early Earth to let life emerge from natural mechanisms. We know that we can create the building blocks of life in labs under the same conditions of the early Earth, the same conditions. And we also can polymerize RNA in labs. We can also produce lipid bilayers in labs. There's so much evidence for evolution, for abiogenesis, that you would have to be silly to deny this. I'm sorry, sir, but there's lots of research on this, and I actually have a video.
I'm literally a believer.
I show the evidence, and I show.
I'm literally a believer in abiogenesis. Why are you trying to prove that to me? I'm saying that.
Great. So then you would recognize what evidence means.
Yes.
The studies are sufficient to demonstrate abiogenesis. Your claim of a fucking Hindu god is baseless.
But you literally didn't even let me get to finish. So can I talk? All right. Okay. So based on the AWARE-2 study, we first see that there is no EEG activity after the first 20-30 seconds of brain oxygen cessation, blood flow to the brain. Now you could say that that's just non-recorded activity within the brain, but the fact that it's 3 minutes after on average a person loses cessation of oxygen based on blood flow, and past clinical trials that show that the person should be well dead right after this point, we see that there is still consciousness intact of it. Also, I'm pretty sure you're aware of the propofol
Yes.
propofol clinical trials they did 4 years ago,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Where they determined that the person is conscious during these propofol induced
Yes. What's the point here?
that we, based on current data, we cannot ascribe as of right now that consciousness is emergent property of the brain. If there is better evidence,
Why not? Why not?
based on what I just said.
How do you make the connection between saying that we cannot show that consciousness is emergent by simply showing that there's some studies that show that the brain is active even though there's no blood flow? How did you make that connection when we
So
can understand that perhaps consciousness can be preserved? Hold on. Take a deep breath and relax. You have made a connection. You have connected dots where there are no dots to connect. How did you make the connection between brain activity in the brain after the blood flow stops, and therefore this means that we cannot explain consciousness through emergence? How did you make that connection?
Okay, could you just first just tell me what I explained the findings of the AWARE-2 study to be? Could you just
You just explained it to us. Connect the dots. You can't do it. Bye-bye. The overwhelming evidence is not in favor of what you're saying. It does not show a Hindu god or gods exist. I'm sorry. I am sorry, sir. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Goodbye.
What's up, man? So what is your defeater to God? What
Which one?
falsifies the
Which
belief?
god? There are 1,000
The
different
Christian
gods.
God.
It's 1,000 different gods.
The Christian God. What falsifies the belief that there is a Christian God?
Your god's too dumb to exist. It makes beings who are so faulty and pretends he's the most omnipotent being in the world, and he designs us in a shitty way. Your God suffers the omniparadoxes, the divine hiddenness issue, the problem of evil issues. There is no good reason to think your God exists. Do you have any?
So you're standing on truth, right, in your perspective?
Yeah, logical truths that point out paradoxes in your belief.
Well, sir, you're standing on a rug, the ultimate rug that all atheists stand on. Okay? It's called the arbitrary paradox. Look it up. And it's called, all right, if we come from an arbitrary Big Bang, then by definition, everything is arbitrary. Okay?
Who said it's arbitrary?
Who says it's arbitrary? Because it just happened. It just is. That's
Okay.
what y'all think.
Did God just happen?
He's always been there.
Okay, great. So then we can say the universe always was there.
You can't say that though, because there's a Big Bang.
The Big Bang's not the beginning.
Okay, so then what's the Big Bang for y'all?
The expansion.
So it's just constantly expanding and never had.
Yes.
Okay. And so all these processes that happen in the universe and nature, they're all just non-intelligent. They're just processes and systems.
It seems to be that way. There's no need for intelligence.
For complex things in nature and the universe.
Yeah, we have mechanisms that describe complexity just well without God. It's called gravity. It's called conservation of momentum. All those things above describe the complexity we see.
Okay, so like logic, truth, facts, evidences, you can't ground them though. There's no grounding.
We
They're
ground
just
them in the mind.
What's that?
We ground them in the mind.
Okay, but All right, so you ground them in the mind, but it can't just stop there though, because without the mind, they're still grounded. They're still there.
No, they are
Without
mind
human
dependent,
minds,
right? So logic is mind dependent.
right? But logic still exists, even if we take all human minds out of the equation.
Prove it. How did you know that? How do you know that?
It's simple, man. Like okay, look, an apple is an apple. All humans just disappear. It's still the rules of logic still exist. So there
No.
has to be an ultimate mind that
No,
grounds it.
logic is merely a descriptor for how the world operates from our perspectives. So, sure, if there were no humans, there would still be stuff in the universe, but there would be nobody to describe it. So, that's what logic is. Logic is merely a descriptor, and without anybody, there's nobody to describe it. There would just be stuff, whatever that means. Logic is mind dependent.
Right. And I'm saying that it's grounded in God, that logic, truth, evidence, and all these things, these processes are grounded in God.
No,
Okay.
why? We can just say it's grounded in humans and we're done. Like, we don't need God.
Well, just because, if we take humans, it still exists. So then, therefore, how are
You
they still
haven't shown that.
existing?
No. You haven't shown that logic exists. You're confusing the map for the territory. Logic is our mapping of reality. It is not reality itself. You're equating the two, right? Logic is the map of the world around us. The map does not necessarily have to exist with the world. Just like GTA 5, right? The map of GTA 5 doesn't have to exist. It's just a way we describe the world around us. So the
Right.
world may exist, but logic may not exist without human minds.
Right. And the GTA map exists because of the curator who made the game, or the creators, right? In this case,
But
it's one creator.
yeah, but when it comes to the universe, there's no evidence of somebody making the universe. There's no need for a universe to be made.
The evidence is the map itself on how we interact with the world, right?
That's
Because
something we made up, though. We made it up. How could it be evidence for a god if we made up logic in our minds? It comes from our brains.
look, I'm saying that as for you, an atheist, they truly don't believe that there is no God because they interact with the world like there is truth, like there is some type of being that is holding the universe and the world together in our minds.
No, truth is just that which describes reality.
In accordance with reality.
Truth is mind dependent. Truth itself is mind dependent. Without minds, there's no truth. Without humans, there's no truth, because truth is not something that's physical in reality, that or some kind of platonic entity. Truth is what we use to describe the world around us. So that is perfectly compatible with a deterministic, atheistic world. There's no need for God at all.
What I'm saying is, right, what grounds it though? Because there's nothing grounding it. So it's arbitrary.
The mind, it's an emergent property of the mind, of the brain, right?
So at the end of the day, why does it matter? Why does it matter to be vegan? Why does it matter to be a good person, right? You choose to do
Because we
good
care
things
about
in
each
the
other. We
world
care about each other. Why does it matter if we follow God?
because we care about each other and we want to be good people.
Okay, great. Why does that matter, right? Why does that matter? We can go on forever. At the end of the day, all we have is each other, and there's no evidence of a God. All we have is each other. So that's it. We don't need God to be good people. We don't need God for morality. We don't need God for truth. We don't need God for logic. We don't need God for jack shit.
But sir, okay, in order to defeat the Christian God, you had to have a defeater to falsify that belief, right? So what is your defeater? What falsifies the Christian God? Completely,
Is
100%.
God all good?
Yes.
Then
Yes.
why is there evil? Then why is there evil in the world around us?
I mean, you're already gonna know I'm gonna say free will, man. People
And
choose.
that's a
People
bad
choose.
excuse. Free will does not necessitate evil. Just for example, does God have free will?
Yes.
Does God ever choose evil with his free will?
No, he does not.
Why not?
He just chooses not to.
He's good, right? Because he's good natured. Right? He's good, right? He's good natured.
Yeah. He's the only pure
Great.
goodness.
So clearly, God could have made a world in which there are people who are good and never choose evil with their free will, just like God.
Right, but he is the only good being, right? Like, okay, so
Why didn't God make
he
us
has the
good? See,
knowledge
that's the problem.
of
This is the
good
problem.
and
Right?
evil.
This is the problem. God could have made us good. He did not have to make
He
us
did
bad
that
at all.
at the garden, right? He told us not to eat from the tree of good and evil, right?
Right. But if we were
Because he
good,
knows if we did, we couldn't handle it, but he can because he's good. So that's why he set that up. But then,
right. But if we were good from the get-go, then we would never choose to eat the apple, which was so bad, whatever that means. But we would never choose wrong, even if we were tempted by some devil or some snake that can talk.
okay, look,
The point is
before,
that goodness never can yield evil by nature, by its nature, just like God.
dude, there's going to be some things that we're not going to fully 100% understand, like why God set it up that way.
Ah, there
Okay.
it is. I
But
don't know
from the
why.
beginning,
Well, see, this is the defeater that you asked for, right? You asked for it.
look,
You don't have a
if God is
solution.
all
You don't have a
knowing,
solution.
he had 7 trillion different possibilities times 7 trillion. And the plan that we're living right now is the one that could only work to go to heaven. This is the only way.
Oh, really? So you're saying this is the best possible world?
Yes. And God saw all other possible
Oh,
worlds.
really?
This
This
is
is
the
the
best
best.
one.
So I can imagine a world that has one less death from a pew pew.
So then you would be affirming,
Wouldn't that be a better world?
dude, you're affirming that you would know better than God. And that's just literally impossible, dude.
Okay. And you're assuming that God exists. Okay, congratulations. See, your argument doesn't actually work here. You don't have a defeater. You don't have a defeater for what I asked you. Right? The tables have turned. Right? The problem is that I ask these hard questions you can't answer, so all you can say is, you don't know what God wants. That's a poor excuse for your worldview to me. There's no reason why God had to envelop or to produce evil. There's no reason why God had to make this world, but not another world where there's less evil. You cannot defeat that.
But it all stands on your limited knowledge. So this is where it fails. This is where it falls because
Your entire worldview rests upon your limited knowledge. I'm just simply taking your logic and just pointing out flaws in it. I'm not saying that I have all the answers. You are, if anybody here, but I'm taking your logic and I'm dismantling it. You're just telling me what you think is true, and
no,
I'm pointing out flaws in it that you
I
can't.
never said I had all the answers.
Then
I
why
just
do you
said I'm just
pretend
pointing
as
out
if
the right
why
ones.
then why do you pretend that you can defend your faith when you can't?
I can defend my faith,
Then show
but
me why God produced evil. Why is there evil?
he did not produce evil.
Then why
That's
does
the
it exist?
false
Why
belief.
does it exist? Why does it exist?
You're not gonna like the answer, bro, but it's free will, man.
I just
Free
took
will.
my time to. No, this is why you're dishonest. I just took my time to explain to you why free will doesn't solve the problem. Even if, because free will does not necessitate evil. I can have free will but never choose wrong with it. Do you agree?
The defeater to that would be this is the only way that God saw that it could work out. And we could run down
Oh, really?
all the
The
reasons
only way that God. So
why.
okay, great. So what you're saying is the only way that God could have achieved his greater good is if people got raped, if that there was lots of SA, if there was slavery, if there was murderings and
You can't
genocide.
force
That's
evil.
that's
I mean,
God's
you can't
best
force
world.
love.
That's God's best world. Are
You
you
can't
kidding?
force love. And if you want God to be a dictator, he could. He could
Sure.
stop all that.
Sure. Could you imagine a better world in which there was no murder and less death and less rape and less sexual assault? Is that a better world to you?
It's in heaven. It exists.
So then you agree that heaven's the best possible world and not this world.
It's the best possible plan to get there. That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, so why couldn't God make us in heaven from the get-go?
I mean, a good guess, because I'm telling you, I don't have all the answers. But if we were in heaven right away, can you imagine if we messed up and then we would be in hell just like Lucifer for all eternity? But
We
here
wouldn't
we
mess
have a
up at
chance to
all.
mess up and still go to heaven.
We get a chance. Why would we want to get a chance to mess up? Well, why would you take that stupid risk? Why not just go back to heaven and be good forever? Be like God and just chill out in heaven, sip on martinis and shit. Like, why would you want to be here, this terrible place where people get raped and sexually assaulted? Like, why would you choose this place? It's ridiculous over that place.
I guess it's just like a child. Sometimes they make the wrong choice and they think they know better. They think they
So
know
God
our
fucked up. So you're saying God fucked up.
No, I'm saying we messed up. We have to
But I didn't
hold
choose to be here.
accountability.
I didn't choose to be here. God chose to put me here. God forced me to be here. I didn't choose to be here.
So Mike, you genuinely want to be in heaven. If heaven exists, you want to be there right now.
Well, no, I'm doing an internal critique of your view. Look, I'm just taking your logic and I'm showing you why it's wrong. I don't think heaven exists. I would never want to be in that shitty place. But that's besides the point. The point here is your view on heaven necessitates that that's a better world than this one. And why are we not in that world? You can't answer. You have not answered a single question I asked you today.
Well, it's because sin entered the world, man.
And
And
whose fault is that?
humans, our
How is
ancestors.
it our fault if God designed us to do sin?
He designed us to have a choice.
Right, but the problem is that God could have given us a good nature such that we never choose wrong. Why did he do that?
Because sin entered the world, but the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing.
Okay,
There
I
is
don't
a
want you
way. He
I
gave
don't
us a
want your
tool.
nonsense preaching. I don't want to hear your garbage. I want logic, not
He
blah blah
gave
blah.
us a
Jesus
tool.
died for our sins. That's stupid. I want good logic and reasoning skills.
Sir, he gave us a tool
No.
to choose
No,
righteousness
I asked you
every day
a
and
simple
love.
question. I asked you a very simple question. Why didn't God design a world where we have free will but no evil in us, in our nature? Why didn't he do that?
I'm not too sure.
Okay, great. So then
But
your worldview has been defeated. That's
no,
why
it
I think
hasn't.
that
Just
God.
because I don't know the question to it
Well,
fully.
if you can't defend your belief that you think is so true, I'm sorry, sir. If a simple question like that makes you flustered, why the fuck would you have so much faith in what you believe?
Personal experience, miracles, people around me, testimonies.
Okay. You experience God. What is he white? Is he black?
So, dude, before I was a Christian,
No.
and
I
I
don't
did
want
drugs.
I don't want your life story.
Okay,
I
I know.
want how you know
Chill,
you
man. I'm
experience
gonna keep
God.
it short.
How do you know that you experience God?
I literally heard God's voice.
What did he say?
He said, Azariah, you need to stop doing drugs. Kid you not, bro. Thought I was going insane. He said that, bro.
Okay.
In 5 seconds.
And how do you know?
he
And
said
how?
that.
Okay, I understand. Well, first of all, I'm happy that did you get over that addiction?
Yes, I'm
Good.
good.
Good. I'm happy for you. I'm glad for you.
Thank you, bro.
The problem is that you don't know that this voice you heard, it was not just product of your own brain or a hallucination. You don't know that. You cannot decipher between God's voice and your own voice.
Dude, this voice shook the bones in me, dude. It terrified me.
Yes, I understand. You can have thoughts and hallucinations that terrify you, absolutely. But it doesn't make it God.
Right, but there's reasonable doubt and there's unreasonable doubt, okay? At that time, I did not even want anything to do with God. So, of course, I was going to downplay
I don't
it.
care about this. I don't care about this. I care about how you know that you experience God's voice and not your own voice in your head. Because the human mind, the human brain is very susceptible to hallucinations. 10% of people on the planet experience hallucinations regularly. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
Very common. Hallucinations are very common. Our brains are not perfect. They fuck up all the time. So to think or suggest that because you have heard something in your mind, therefore God, That's to me not a
Wait,
good reason.
it's not even just that though, because I'm telling you, at the time I was agnostic, and of course I was
I don't
downplaying
care.
it
I
in
don't
some
care. How do you
respects.
know it's God? You're not giving me evidence. You're not giving me any good reason.
Well, because it lines up with the Bible, right? So that just
That's ad hoc. That's
Hello.
as necessary. You're just saying it's because you want to.
Hello.
What do you got?
Hey man, how you doing?
Good. What do you got?
I believe in God, man. I believe God exists.
I'm glad you're
I
fucking
believe the
retarded. Now,
Christian
what's your
God.
evidence?
I believe the Christian God believe is existed.
Great. What's the evidence of it?
I mean, right. So I know how you were speaking about specifically with the other guest here, specifically with not needing God for morality or not needing God for
Hello?
Hello? Oh, my bad, man. Hello? Hold on. Give me
Yeah.
1 second, man.
All right. Come back when you're ready. And turn off your damn TV, please. Hey, what do you got? Please, guys, subscribe to the YouTube for all my debates, and please follow me.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So, I seen that you were talking about how you believe in different things besides the Lord, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, that being said, how come on your profile, it does say world famous Christian? So, if you are such a Christian, how come you are dissing on the Lord
It's
in
satire,
a
sir.
way?
It's satire.
I'm sorry?
It's a joke. It's not real.
Oh, okay. Well, so the Lord, a lot of people say their own beliefs and their own things, that's why they believe in the Lord. There's a lot of things that we have found in human rights that shows that the Lord is real. For an example, is Noah's Ark. It says in the Bible that Noah Ark built the boat out of himself. We found the Noah's Ark.
Really? Where'd you find it?
It was all over the internet. It was all over the news. It was everywhere for the
Okay,
longest
great.
time.
So where was this ark?
England, if I'm not mistaken, it was in England.
England. Wow, the ark went to England. Okay. They took a detour.
Well, I mean, you have to think, the world was flooded over sin. There is proof that the world was flooded.
Okay,
So,
great. Where is the proof that the world was flooded? I'd love to see this.
well, first of all, if you would actually look in your any type of history whatsoever, it shows that the world was flooded because a lot of our historic animals was destroyed.
Great. So give us any scientific data that demonstrates there was a global flood. Can you do that for us today? Oh, he's Googling. We can't hear you when you're Googling, buddy. Sir, we can't hear you when you're Googling.
Okay, so it's 250 BC ago. The scientist that found it was Bereshad. I cannot say his name. Bereshad Ofuno, I cannot say his last name. And it says that he found out that the world was flooded in 250 BC ago.
200 years ago?
250 BC.
Okay, and what was the evidence? What was his study that he presented? What was the evidence he presented?
If you'll give me 1 second, I have a lot of things. it's shocking to me how a lot of people, I mean, I believe, like you were saying that, how does the free will.
Okay, it's shocking. It's very shocking that you haven't provided any evidence yet. That's shocking to me.
Give me 1 second.
Take your time. We have all 7 days of creation.
Alrighty, so it says the Great Flood, known as the Humada in Hebrew, was sent by God in the year of 1656 of creation of 2105 BC. It cleansed the earth of the mankind corrupted ways, such as us human beings, we have free will, the free will that the Lord gave us, just like Lucifer. The only reason why he was cast down.
Sir,
Okay.
you sound like you're kind of yapping right now. Can you get back to the scientific data?
Okay, this I'm trying to present in the way that this, according to the internet. Like, you can, clear as day, you can Google it, when was the flood of Noah? It will tell you everything that scientists know about the flood. There is drawings,
So Google is not a source, right? Google is just a search engine.
You're correct, but if you have the flu or anything else, what are you going to do? You're going to Google about what your symptoms are. So you're most likely going to find the best proper way of us humankind knowing.
An arc is not comparable to a flu.
No.
They're different. They're a bit different. They're a bit different, sir.
Yes, but if you're using the internet, you can tell a lot. Like, you don't just look off one or two things. There's multiple religions, and every single religion you have a choice in every little thing that you do. I have read multiple
we have a
books.
choice. Okay. So do you choose to be just willfully ignorant, or do you just not care about what evidence means? Because it seems like you don't know what evidence is. It's not a Google search away.
That's
it's
the
a
thing.
study. It's a research. It's a piece of data that demonstrates something being true. So give us any data or go away, because you're wasting our time at this point.
Okay, that is fine. But what I'm saying, though, is we found his ark.
I can't. We found his ark.
Yo.
Where is it? In England. Honestly, that was better than anybody else's argument today. That noise, that sound he just did. It's really good.
Hey, what's up? God by negation or being agnostic? Like, would you say that you negate God by negation or certainty?
Huh? Can you speak
so
a
when
little
you
slower?
Yeah, so when you sorry, I know people of your caliber. Sorry, yeah. So do you negate God by certainty, or are you not sure? Like, in which sense do you negate God?
I don't negate God. It depends on what you mean by God. But I just don't. There's logical inconsistencies within certain versions of God that I would say that render him not possible.
Okay, sure. So you think it's gonna like violate like Aristotelian classical logic?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. What's going to be the substantiation for that under like Thomistic Catholicism?
Well, it depends on the God, sir. If you believe in the Christian God, I would use the problem of evil, the evidential problem of evil, the omniparadoxes, divine hiddenness, things like that.
Yeah, sure. So I specified, I'm not sure if you heard me, but I said under the Thomistic Catholic paradigm.
Okay.
So you said problem of evil, right? So what's going to be like the conjunctive X and not X?
That God created the universe and is all good, but there's evil in the world, right? How can God create good and then create evil?
Wait, I thought you had an argument, not a question.
How can God be all good, but then evil exists in the universe around us? That seems to be contradictory to his nature.
Okay, that's saying it seems to be X does not entail that it's going to be X unless you can give a defense of phenomenal conservatism.
The point is that if God actualizes only goodness, evil cannot exist in the world because God is the actualizer, the purely actualized being, right? So it would only create anything good. It never has the capacity to produce evil. So evil cannot arise under a God version.
Yeah, so under the Thomistic Catholic paradigm, could you please like demonstrate how we think God created evil?
You tell me, it's your belief.
Well, no, it's your proposition. I'm negating that we even believe that.
I said under certain Christian versions of God, that would render it not possible because there's evil.
That's
So
all good and
go
well,
ahead
but I
and
could swear I
demonstrate.
said Thomism.
Do you think God is all good?
Yeah.
Then why is there evil in the world?
Yeah, that's a question, not an argument. That's personal incongruity.
Yeah, I'm asking. The question leads to the fact that you don't actually have a counter.
Yeah, but a question isn't going to be an argument. As I said, what's the conjunctive X and not X?
It's that there is evil in the world, that God has all power and omnipotence, but and cannot create evil, but does create evil. That seems to be contradiction.
Okay, and he creates evil according to what? I simply negate the proposition.
The fact that it exists in the world around us that he created.
Okay. You're aware that we
So
would just
why would
posit
God
that
create?
evil
Why
doesn't
would God
ontologically
create?
exist.
Why would God create evil? Why would God do that to you? Why would God, in your view, do that?
Well, he didn't. That's a straw man, right?
Okay,
So
great.
we hold to the... Yeah, hold on, stop yapping.
So then go ahead and explain away evil. Why does evil exist in a universe where God is all good?
Yeah, so evil's going to be a privation. It doesn't ontologically exist. So I just wouldn't say God created it, right? And the defense that we can give is according to the sum. Hush, boy. Right.
Yeah. You're not going to come up to my life and act like you're so smart because you know a little bit of philosophy. I'm sorry, sir. This is ridiculous. Why would the privation of evil of goodness exist if God is all good? This is another problem that you have faced that you cannot face. Why does evil exist?
Yeah, I'm addressing that.
I know what your definition of evil is. I'm asking you, why does it exist if God is all good?
Yeah, sure. So it's going to be addressed by St. Thomas Aquinas in the Summa Theologica, right, in question 2. He knows that it comes about in order for a greater glory, right? So for example...
Great. So
right,
you're saying, now what you're saying is there's a greater reason why God allows rape, right?
Yeah, it just means like ultimate glorification.
Okay, great.
Because
So what's the greater reason for God to produce, for allowing people to rape each other? What's that greater good?
So if you zipped it, I'd be able to answer. Right.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, right. So the final end of everything is going to be God, and which is goodness by virtue of divine simplicity. So all things in their final end lead to God is going to be his glorification.
That's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
Yeah, sure. So I can finish answering. Yes, it's glorification.
Look, what I asked you is this. You said that there's a greater good that God wants to achieve, right? So what's that greater good for rape? What's the greater good for sexual assault? What's the greater good for murdering? Why would God allow these things? What's the greater good that comes from these things? Can you explain?
Crazy how you then ask me to answer? Crazy. Yeah. So it's just going to be his ultimate glorification.
Okay, so you're saying rape gives God glory?
In the final end, intrinsic action.
So you agree that raping people gives God glorification?
In the final end, not the action.
And you think that's good? You think that's a good God?
Hold on, can you relay my point? Because I actually don't think you understand it.
See, you pretend you're so smart, right? You pretend you're so philosophically literate. I'm sorry, sir, but you literally believe in a God that wants rape to happen. And you call it...
as I said, you strawmanning me.
Okay, great. Do you think rape is good?
No.
Great. So then your God, you just conceded that God allows it and gets glorification from that shit. I'm sorry, sir. This is fucking embarrassing.
You know there's a distinction between the action and the final end, right? Do you know what a final cause is?
Do you know that your God's an evil piece of shit?
According to what moral paradigm in which you can justify?
Your own.
My own? Okay, sure. Show me
Yes, your own. You just agreed that rape is wrong, but your God allows it and gets glorification from it. That seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, so I made a distinction between the final end, right, and the action itself. So do you know the distinction, or am I going to have to give you a lesson here?
Why would it be relevant when your God, at the end of the day, gets glorification from evil actions?
Yeah, so it's not the evil action in which is the derivative of glory, right? It's going to be the final end of the action. Do you know what that is? Or am I going to keep giving you a lesson?
Why is it relevant when it comes to the end result or the action itself? Why is that relevant?
Because he doesn't derive the glory from the intrinsic action.
Yes, he does. That action must happen for that end result to occur.
Yeah, so say for example, right, I've robbed someone, right? At the end of days on the day of judgment, the glory is derived from his justice, right? So he would punish me in order. Right?
That rape that end result is contingent on that action.
Oh no, God can derive his glory either way, right? But that is a way of derivative of glory.
So now you're saying that it's not. So now you're saying that God can achieve his glory without any of those evil actions. Another problem you just introduced to yourself. Now there's no reason for evil to exist in the first place.
Wait, hold on. Just because you don't see the reason as like logically sound doesn't entail that it's not, right? As I said, all you're offering is like, oh, that sounds bad, like intuitively. That's all good and well, but can you actually present to me?
No, it doesn't just sound bad. It is a big issue for theists, for your theistic paradigm, because if you're saying God is all good, it seems to be, it is contradictory for evil to exist. Period. Because God would never have the ability to actually.
So lay out a syllogism.
And if your only justification for this is, well, there's a greater good to be achieved, that just makes it worse for you. It exacerbates the problem, because now everything becomes good. Every rape, every murder, all those things now become good because it achieves a greater good for your God, which is.
Mike, honey, do you want me to take it slow for you? Do you want to take it like real slow? Listen, right? There is a distinction. Do you know what a distinction is? You got that? Okay, good. Right. There's a distinction between the morality of an action and what can be derived from the final cause of the action. Do you know what that is, Pookie?
I don't see why that difference is relevant, because
it's relevant because the action itself isn't moral, as I already explained.
The actions are immoral, and those actions are necessary for God to achieve His greater good.
Necessary according to where in the Summa?
Necessary for that good to be achieved. Do you agree that rape
wait,
is necessary?
Wait, hold on. What mode of necessity?
Sir, do you agree that evil is necessary for God's good to be achieved?
Hold on. What mode of necessity are you supposing?
Sir, do you believe that God's evil?
Obviously, there's going to have to be like elaboration, right?
Stop. Do you agree that the evil actions in the world are necessary for God to achieve His greater plan?
It depends on like the mode of necessity you present.
And it doesn't matter what mode of necessity.
Well, yeah, it's going to be suppositional, absolute. Which one?
Any of those.
Any of them? Do you actually know what you're agreeing to? Like, can you tell me what they are?
Yes, any mode of necessity. Just can you demonstrate why? Do you concede that the evil actions that occur in the world are necessary in every way for God's greater plan to be achieved?
Okay, so absolute necessity is what you're supposing. Yeah, as I said, I'm just going to negate it. I actually don't think that's the case.
Okay, great. So then now what you're saying is that evil is not necessary to achieve God's greater plan. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So now you have just shown that God allows evil and creates a world where there is evil for no good reason.
Yes, so the good reason would be his glorification. Just because it's not necessary doesn't logically. Hold on, stop.
Look. Now there is. Now you're being contradictory. Now you're saying there is a reason.
No, that's not a contradiction. You don't even know what a contradiction is. Sit down and let me educate you.
I know what it is. It's negation and affirmation. The same premise. Now, can you show me why there is evil in the world? You just contradicted yourself by showing me that you think that it's not necessary and then it is necessary.
Yeah, so first and foremost, you skewed the definition of a contradiction. That's fine. I'm giving out free lessons. You only got it half right. It's affirmation negation.
No. Listen, it doesn't matter. What matters is you're stuck with the problem. There is evil in the world and you cannot explain it away. Show me how you know that.
Suppose I'm actually granted that there is no way to explain it. That's going to entail like the destruction of classical theism under what basis?
It's a contradiction, sir.
Not being able to explain something isn't a contradiction. I'm dead sure you actually don't know what that is.
If you're saying that God is only good and there's evil in the world that God creates, that seems to be contradictory. You're saying that God is good, it can never create good, or it can never create evil, but does create evil.
Well, I don't think He creates evil. Can you stop strawmanning me?
So then what explains the evil in the world that God created?
Yeah, He didn't create evil. Where are you getting that idea from?
Did God create the universe?
Yeah.
Is there evil in the universe?
Yeah.
So then it seems to me that God created evil.
Okay, what's the deductive syllogism?
God created the world. The world contains evil. God created evil.
Okay, so if I create a box and then a rat comes into the box, does it logically conclude I created the rat, or are you like a little bit slow?
No, because the box does not contain necessarily the rat, but the world does necessarily contain humans.
Okay, that's fine. I don't think humans are intrinsically evil. Do you actually know like the doctrine of like Augustinian original sin?
Original sin does not explain away why evil exists. Sin does not have to exist either.
That's not what I asked you, honey pie. Can you answer the question?
Original sin is not an excuse for evil.
That's fine. That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you if it was an excuse.
So stop using that excuse, right? I'm asking
I'm not
you
using it as an excuse to answer the question.
I'm asking you, why is there evil in the world? And all you're saying is, well, we sinned. Well, that's not a good excuse.
That's not what. Hold on. Quote me, because that's not what I said.
Okay, great. So what explains evil to you?
Yeah, so I already explained that, right? What I'm trying to get you on is the fact that, you are committing a fallacy of personal incongruity because there's actually no affirmation and negation, right? As I said earlier, suppose I could not prove it. Suppose I could not give a reason, right? This does not entail a contradiction.
The contradiction is this. It's very simple. You're saying God is evil, God is good and can never achieve or actualize evil. And then you're saying God does actualize evil by saying that
No,
God
as I
creates the
said, evil
universe.
doesn't ontologically exist. Stop strawmanning me.
Okay, great. So then why is there evil in the world?
Yeah, as I said, it's a privation and it can be for the
Okay,
ultimate glory.
why does that
Right?
exist? Then why does that exist if it can't exist, if God is all good?
Well, hold on. Why couldn't it exist? You're supposing something. Prove it.
Because it wouldn't make sense for a God to actually, that's all good, to counter his own nature and create evil.
Something not making sense doesn't entail a contradiction. Do you know what personal incongruity is?
No, I never said it just because it makes sense, therefore it's contradictory. I
You
said
literally said it doesn't
it's
make sense.
contradictory. You can, they're synonymous, they're synonyms, right? I can say it's
No.
contradictory for God to contradict his own nature in creating a world where the evil exists. So can you
We don't think evil existed in creation.
can you explain evil now?
Yes, I already explained it, right? I'd really like if you stop strawmanning me, honey pie. Like I'm trying to be nice here, right? So first off, right, not making sense and a contradiction are not going to be identical.
I just
right?
explained to you. I just explained to you the
Stop.
contradiction. I just explained the contradiction to you. The contradiction is very simple. You're asserting that God is all good and cannot produce evil, but then you're saying that God does produce evil by saying that God creates the universe with evil in it. So that's the
No, I don't
contradiction.
think he created a universe with the evil in it.
You can't explain it away by saying original sin. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I can, because that's a straw man. You're straw manning me.
So then why does sin exist?
Hold on. So first off, we have to establish that God did not
Why
create
does
the
sin
universe.
exist?
No,
Why
because
does sin
you're
exist?
making a false premise. You're making a false premise, Goofy boy. Let me respond.
Please. Just say why sin exists, please. Just why does sin exist?
Respond to the false premise. Shake your head. No, you're not going to let me respond to the false premise.
Why does sin exist?
Hold on. You're making a false premise. I need to address the false premise, right? So are you going to let me do that? Right, thank you. Kisses. Mwah. Right, so the way we explain it, right, is that God did not create the universe with sin. Sin was not intrinsic to the universe.
That's not what I asked you. Yeah, that's not what I asked you.
Yeah, you
why
baked a
does
false
sin
premise,
exist?
Laura.
Why does sin exist?
Yeah, that's fine. You're baking a false premise. Let me respond to the false premise.
There is no premise here. What I'm saying is, I'm asking you a question. I asked you a
presuppose something I negate.
I asked you a question. Why does sin exist?
Yeah, before that, you baked a false premise. I want to address the false premise.
I'm asking you a question now. Why does sin exist?
Yeah, I already answered that. And again, you're baking a false premise. Let me respond to the false premise. Let me respond to the false premise. Stop being a silly boy.
Sir, why does sin exist in the first place?
Stop being a silly boy and let me respond. Don't be a silly bitty. That's not nice, right? So we don't think he created universe with intrinsic evil, right? So first off, that's addressed because that's not what we believe, right? And as I said, for the ultimate glory, right? Just because it's not necessary doesn't entail it's not a good reason.
Okay, so why does sin exist?
Yeah, I literally just said that. Like, can you clean your ears? Do you have like cotton buds near you?
Yeah, so why does sin exist?
Yeah, I just explained that. Do you have cotton buds near you? Clean your ears.
Can you say it again for the audience?
Yeah, sure. So it's going to exist for the greater glory of God and its justification, right?
Okay. So can God achieve glory without evil?
Yeah.
Great. So then evil is not necessary.
That's fine. I never suppose it was.
Okay, great. So why did God create a world where evil is not necessary if he's all good?
So you think it would be better for God to create a universe where evil is necessary?
That's not relevant. Sorry, I asked you a question.
That's what you just said.
Why would God create a universe where evil is unnecessary?
Yeah, right. So if God creates evil within necessity, it's going to be intrinsic to him, right? Because that's how he creates, right? You agree?
So
I'm just like holding your hand.
You're saying God created evil now?
No, that's not what. Are you deaf? Like, are you deaf? Be so honest with me. Are you deaf?
Sir,
You're not deaf.
Stop with the ad hominems. Can you just explain evil to us? You're not doing a good job at it.
Yeah, it's a question, not an argument. If ad hom is going to be like truly ad hom, it's going to be an argument. So yeah, you're falsely accusing me of a fallacy. So GG's first off.
Anyway, so can you explain away evil now? If you're going to say it's unnecessary, you defeated yourself because God could have made a world where there's no evil, and that to me would be a better world. Hence, God, it'd be
okay, it would be a better world to you. Okay,
it would be a well. Wouldn't it be a better world where there's no murder?
No, I wouldn't suppose necessarily. Right, under one more paradigm.
Your own. Would it be better to you in your own paradigm that murder did not exist?
Yeah, sure.
There you go. So you just agreed that it's wrong for evil to exist, for murder to exist, and it's not necessary. So why would God actualize a universe where it exists and it exists?
Well, he didn't actualize the universe where it exists. He actualized the universe where it didn't, and then it became into existence, right? So
Okay,
again,
great.
you're basing that same thought
Great. So now you're saying that humans caused it.
Well, I wouldn't say. I would say that Satan would be the ultimate cause of all sin.
Okay, and who designed Satan?
Yeah, God.
Okay, great.
And that entails
So
God made him sin by necessity. What's going to be like the solution?
Why did Satan become evil?
Yeah, because according to his own will, right? So angels, for example, they don't have discursive thoughts. You know what discursive thought is? Really, I'm trying to help you here. Do you know what a discursive thought is?
Dude, you're making this so hard for yourself. Like, this is like the lengths you guys have to go to explain away the nonsense you believe in.
Yeah, that's not going to be an argument. Do you know what a discursive thought is, so I can explain this?
Why did Satan become evil?
Yeah, so because he has discursive thoughts, right? Because he doesn't have discursive thoughts, when an angel is created, right, they have a choice to pick with their divine knowledge, right? And Satan chose evil.
Okay. Does God have free will to choose his own thoughts?
Does God have free will to choose his own thoughts? Well, I think all thoughts within himself are present at all times because of his omniscience.
Okay. Does God have the ability to freely choose his own thoughts? Yes or no?
What do you mean choose his own thoughts?
Can he choose what he thinks about?
Well, his thoughts aren't discursive, so like they stay. They're never like absent. So I don't know. He couldn't really choose it. It's always there, right?
Okay. So you're saying that Satan chose to think evil thoughts?
Yeah. God didn't make him do that.
Okay. So does God choose his own thoughts?
Does God choose his own thoughts? It depends what you mean by choosing thoughts, right? Like all the thoughts like currently there. Like they're not discursive. So I asked you if you know what discursive thoughts are.
So then why didn't God create a universe where thoughts were always there and Satan didn't choose his own thoughts?
No, I said the thoughts within God are always there, within God's mind, yeah, not within ours.
So why did God create a world where Satan would have chosen evil thoughts when God didn't have to do that?
Well, yeah, so first off, God is all good, right, first and foremost. So it's going to be identical to his very essence. He could not, hold on, shush. He could not stray from his own essence, right? Whereas Satan...
Great. Is Satan good or bad?
Bad.
So why didn't God just make him good so he never became bad?
Well, he was created good. He chose to be bad.
How do you choose to be bad? How do you choose your nature?
Yeah, so for example, right, he creates them, right, with this idea, like, okay, you should be good, right? Then, because remember, they don't have discursive thoughts, right, they make their final choice in I want to be good or I want to be evil, right, which is the main distinction between, like, Saint Michael and Satan. So what's the issue, right?
So he can choose his own nature.
What do you mean by nature? Do you mean like essence?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Satan chooses his own essence.
Okay, great. So then why didn't God make Satan good so that he never chose evil with his, and never changed?
So he did make him good. What about being good entails that you could never choose to do an immoral action?
Is God good?
Yeah.
Does God ever choose evil?
No.
There you go.
That's a slippery slope.
Be good, which means you don't choose evil. That's the point.
Right, no, that's a slippery slope. Just because that's the case with God, you're going to have to necessitate why that's going to be the case with the angels.
Because is God all good? He doesn't have any evil in him?
Yeah, sure.
Are the angels all good?
What do you mean by all good?
Did they have any evil nature in them? Were they all good?
I think they are spawned without evil, right? Because evil is a privation. I think they can, however, choose it.
Okay, great. So then how can you be all good and choose evil?
Because I don't think they're all good. That's not what I said, silly. Right? So there's a distinction when we say God is all good, comparable to when we say like the angels are good, right? First off, God is good by identity. The angels are good by predication. First off, that's going to be like a big distinction. Right. Second, right, it's not going to logically entail just because God is all good and he could not choose evil, that's going to entail, right, that because the angels were created good, that they could not choose evil. This is a slippery slope fallacy. You're going to have to demonstrate the proposition.
I'm sorry, sir. This is really, really silly. So again, why would God? I mean, the question is, can the angels choose their own nature? Can they become evil on their own?
As of now, no.
Okay, great. So then, why would they become evil if they can't choose to be evil?
Well, I said as of now. You really have like an issue with like listening to what I said. So I said as of now. As I said, their thoughts are not discursive.
Look, Rolo, is there a possible world in which the angels never chose to become evil?
Yeah.
So then why didn't God make that world?
Well, why is he going to have to? Right? Saying why didn't...
Because he's all good.
Hold on. Saying why didn't X do
Would
Y?
it make sense for all good being to actualize evil? That's the entire point. This is the entire contradiction.
What do you think the term actualize means? Like, I swear you actually don't know what that means.
To bring into existence.
Okay, cool. Do I think that evil exists ontologically?
No, it doesn't exist ontologically.
Then it's a straw man.
That's
GG's
irrelevant.
homie.
That's irrelevant. Whatever your definition of evil is, it still abides by my logic, right? Why would, if God's not evil at all, then he never would have to produce or generate a world where evil arises. He would have the ability to stop evil or not do evil.
Okay, and that entails that he must Y. Like, you just saying, why didn't God do X is personal incongruity.
Because an all good being does not have the capacity to generate evil.
I don't think he generated evil, my days.
Then why would it exist?
Yes, as I said, it's a privation. Beings can choose the privation.
Great. So why, if there's a possible world in which God, the angels could have chosen to, abide by God and be good, why didn't God choose that world? Why did God choose the world where there is evil? It seems to be what an evil being would do.
Okay, that can seem like what an evil being would do to you, but that's not an argument, right? That's, oh, I feel this. Like, that's all good and well, right? That's not an argument.
What you're saying is that God specifically chose to produce a world where evil would arise. Would that be evil to you?
No.
How would it not be an evil thing to do to produce a world where evil arises?
Well, why are you asking me to prove the negation? You're going to have to prove the positive.
But you could have done otherwise.
Yeah, that's all good and well, right. But why are you asking me to prove the negation? Obviously, you're going to have to prove the positive. Why is he forced by necessity to do such? Because
it's within his nature to only do that. He doesn't have the nature to do evil.
According to what? Can you show me what ecumenical council we have that says that? Like what church father says that?
That's what. Look, if my nature is human being, I can't be another animal, right? I'm a human being by nature. I can't choose to be another animal. So God's nature is all good. He can't choose to be another thing. He can't be.
I don't think he chose to be evil. Again, you're strong enemy.
So then, why would God have the ability or capacity to do evil or bring about evil if he's all good? That's the problem.
I don't think he brings about evil. I don't know what you're what you're not understanding here. To bring about evil.
You just agreed that he chose to make a world where evil arises. Isn't that an evil thing to do?
He chose to make a world where evil could possibly arise.
Right. Why did he do that when he knew that there was a world where evil would never arise? He chose not to make that one. He chose to make the one where he knew evil would arise.
Okay, again, that's going to be like a question, not an argument. So do you know the distinction?
Well, the problem is that it seems to me that an all good being will not have the capacity to choose a world knowingly where evil exists.
It seems to me that you're wrong. That doesn't
that's an evil thing to do, right? That would follow that that's an evil thing to do.
Yeah, so it's seeming like the case to you isn't actually going to prove that's the case, right?
Then let me ask you then, under your definition of goodness, would it be evil or good to choose to bring about a world where evil will arise in it? Would that be evil, knowing that you could have chosen a world where no evil arises?
Yeah, so there's basically just going to be a false dichotomy. I don't think all actions are going to be good versus evil. I think there's also going to be a neutral ground, right? First and foremost. Right, and my definition of good is going to function under God. So yeah, I think whatever God does is fine.
Okay, so you're saying whatever God does. So God could have made a world where everybody gets raped and murdered, and that'd be a good thing for God to do.
By create that world, do you mean create that with a possibility or create that by necessity?
Yeah, the possibility.
Possibility, I think he can create this world has that possible inclination, right?
Yeah, but in God's perspective, he knows that those evil things would happen. So it's not that God's like, oh, it's
Okay, that's
possible.
gonna
Hold
entail
on,
what?
hold on. It's not that those things, God is like, oh, it's possible that they might arise. No, God knows that they would arise. He knows the future. He's all knowing, right?
Knowing something doesn't entail necessity.
What?
Yeah, knowing something doesn't entail necessities.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is God knows that the evil would arise in the world he creates. So why did he choose to create the world knowing that evil would arise when he could have done another option where no evil arises? Wouldn't it be antithetical to his nature to create a world where there is evil knowingly?
You're aware, like, an argument won't come from a question, right?
Look, how about this? If I'm a person and I create a robot who I know is going to kill people, would it be evil for me to create that robot?
First off, does the robot have any sort of will?
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. Okay, as well? Alright, yeah, sure. So, right. And did you create it going like, I will make you kill these people? Or is it of its own? Because if it's contingent upon necessity, right?
No, I just knew that they would. I just knew that they would kill people. Would it be evil to create that world where create that robot where he kills people?
Not intrinsically.
So you think it's perfectly okay for me to make a robot knowing that it would kill people? That's perfectly okay to you?
Well, knowledge is like justified true belief, right? You have no control over the action, right? So like, yeah, I don't think like it would be on you.
I'm the creator of the robot. I'm the creator of the robot. I could have chosen
that's
not
cool and all. And that's gonna entail what? You're the creator of the robot, and that entails like it's by necessity.
You chose to create a robot that killed people, just like God chose to create a world where people killed each other.
Yeah, so as I said, right, it's only going to be evil if you force it to be the case.
What?
It's only going to be the case if it's by necessity, right? So if you didn't create the robot to necessarily, in its programming, kill someone, then it's fine.
Why does that matter when you know it will do it necessarily? You know it will do it. Why would you create
that robot? It happens by necessity? That's not going to be the case. I'm not a Calvinist. Right. It's like no issue.
You can't just say, oh, there's no issue. I'm sorry.
There is no issue, right? You're literally positing a question as an argument. Oh, well, if X, Y, B, well, that doesn't entail the negation of X.
Well,
Right.
Well, okay. Well, if you think that it's okay for a being to create a robot or, create a robot that kills people, that seems to be very, very evil to me.
Okay, sure. And under what moral paradigm is that going to be justified?
Well, your own, right?
Okay, yeah, sure. Show me my moral paradigm where it explains that.
What's evil? Like, give an example of an evil action to you.
Yeah, sure. Like theft, for example.
Right. So, like, imagine if I create a robot that just is like a big thief that just steals people's shit all the time. Would that be okay to create that robot knowing it would do those things? Would that be okay to you?
Yeah, I don't think it would be an issue, right? Because you didn't make it do it by necessity, right? Okay, so again,
so you think it's perfectly okay for me to create a robot that goes around raping people? That's perfectly okay to you.
If you program it by necessity to do such, no. But contingently, yeah, I wouldn't say you're an immoral
individual. Fine to you? Okay.
Yeah. So again.
Oh man, that's so fucked up. See, this is the problem of evil, right? It shows them how ridiculous their belief systems are. I mean,
hello?
Still watching. Yeah, what do you got?
Hi, so I am Christian, but that's not really the thing I'm going to argue, I guess, right now. I do want to ask you about evolution. I guess my question is why do you think evolution is the way to go? Why do you think that's the fact?
Evolution?
Yeah.
Well, evolution is something that we can observe in our fossils and in our DNA. It's something we can see and observe and test for. So that's why we know it's true.
So I guess my question would be, so do you believe in the Big Bang Theory? How do you believe the evolution started?
Well, evolution didn't start. Evolution is a process that happens to living beings. If you're talking about life itself, I think you're talking about abiogenesis, which we know is something that describes how non-life can yield living things. It's an emergent phenomenon.
Wait. You said non-life can yield living things?
Right.
Like what? Where does it say that? Like what science supports that?
Abiogenesis. It's a grand hypothesis that describes this process. That's biochemistry, right? You have amino acids interacting with each other. They can actually create amyloids. They can metabolize and autocatalysis. They can perform many, chemical interactions that actually yield living things, because life is a process. Life is just what molecules do. It's not what they are. Life is not an object.
If you search,
it's a process.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. If you search, like, is it possible that life comes from not life? It'll say it's impossible. Like, a lot of different scientists have.
I'm sorry, man, but a Google search is not evidence, right? There are tons of research
Google's
based
a
on.
source. It's a source to their studies. Like, that shows it.
Then give me a study that says it's impossible for life to come from non-life.
I could take the time to research, but moving on. Even if like life can come from non-life, do you believe it came from the monkeys, the fish? Like which evolutions do you believe in?
Everything evolves. Evolution's a tree, and there's different branchings of the tree, and different branches yield different species. Evolution's ongoing. It's always happening, but we are apes. And our ancestors, our closest ancestors, were chimps, or chimp ancestors, about 6 million years ago. And we could see this connection via our DNA. Chromosome 2 demonstrates this. The fossil record also gives a lengthy record of our evolution. The evidence is overwhelming for evolution.
Well, I guess, like, I'm sure you've heard this before, but, like, if we come from apes, then why are apes not turning into humans anymore? Like, why are they still apes?
Right. And the answer is because not every ape has or undergoes the same evolutionary pressures as we undergo. In other words, we are not in the same environments as the other apes are. We're not in trees. We don't live near those African tropical forests. We live in different conditions. There are different pressures that we had to undergo throughout our evolution that made us different. We went one branch of the tree. We went one way, one pathway. The other apes went their other ways, and they changed accordingly. So there is no law of evolution that says everybody has to become human. We are not the pinnacle of evolution. Every species evolves differently according to their conditions.
So you're saying that there's like we came from a whole different type of ape species. Like, if I could ask, like, what specific species was that apparently no longer can exist because it didn't come, it's just not here anymore, basically.
There were several human species before us: Neanderthals, Homo habilis, erectus, Heidelbergensis. There were many different human species before us, each with their own different genetic material. Were very similar to ours, but they were just different enough that that were not our species. They died out over millions of years. We survived, and now we're here today. We're just one type of ape, great ape. We're called Homo sapiens.
I do believe that those like types of species you named are humans. I believe that those are just the earliest stages of humans. Like, obviously their skull structures, all that was different, but they were not animals. They were not monkeys.
Correct. We're not monkeys either. We are apes, just like the other humans.
But you're saying we came from these, like, Neanderthals, for example, but those were never monkeys. Those were never apes. And
we are apes still today. All humans were apes. And it's not that we come from them, it's that we share ancestry with them, right? It's not like Pokemon where you just, become a Charizard from a Charmander, right? It's not a day-by-day change. It's a population basis change. It's a generational change that takes many thousands of generations to see. So that's the process. It's a long time and a lot of changes.
Okay, well, I do disagree with all that, but I guess I want to ask you now, like, how do you think the world started? Like, where do you think all this life came from? If, like, I know you believe that it can come from non-life, but what made those non-life materials?
Well, the world, when you say the world, that's a very ambiguous word. I mean, what do you mean by the world? I mean, you're talking about the local space-time, you're talking about the earth.
Just matter and, like, physical, like, objects and things.
Matter could have always been here in some way. I mean, it's hard to imagine, but it's possible that matter could have always existed in some way. But life itself is just a process that occurs to molecules, organic molecules. RNA is a molecule. DNA is a molecule. DNA is not alive on its own. It's just a molecule. But what makes it alive is the interactions between DNA and other molecules. They undergo replication, metabolism, these certain chemical processes. So life is not a thing or an object. It's a process that emerges from these simpler organic molecules that are made all the time chemically in space. Amino acids we found on Mars and other space rocks in space. I mean, the building blocks of our bodies are found all over the universe. They form all the time. It's just that Earth has the right conditions for them to foster into the living things we know today.
So it just sounds like I see some of the comments, everyone's like, God's not an answer. And from what you're saying, like, these things existed basically, like our matter is floating throughout space, but you're saying molecules came from nothing. And I feel like it's harder to believe that than it is to believe that there's a higher power that created everything. Like, I look around, I see a lot of order. I feel like it would be crazy to think that this stuff all just happened because of the molecules found a place to go and like just figured everything out with no mind to make it happen.
Well, from your perspective, it may seem that way, that, you know, how could it be that these molecules can produce such a complex being such as we? But the problem is you're missing the grander picture. There's a bigger picture that precedes us. It's called 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution. We are just one snapshot of the current model, the current state of the affairs. Before us was an entirely different universe, full of order. The universe as a whole is becoming more chaotic, but there are pockets of order that that because of certain mechanisms like gravity and nuclear force and the weak force, forces in nature can actually yield pockets of order and produce things like we. So
I disagree. I feel like the stuff you're saying, like, I understand that that's what you believe, but that's not backed up, really. Like, do you have the proof to show that? Like, you don't know that it didn't come from a mind. Just because there's different pockets of order doesn't mean that nothing was behind it.
Well, the mind behind the universe is unfalsifiable. We have no way of knowing if there was a mind or not involved, especially not you. You don't know if there's a mind. All we know is that there is matter and energy, and they abide by certain physical laws. And it seems to be that's all you need for things like us. You don't need a mind. It seems to me that, you know, adding a mind actually doesn't solve anything. I mean, why would there be disease and cancers and mutations and all these disgusting things that we live and know of if there was a mind doing this for some purpose? It seems to me that there's a lot of unpurposeful things, unneeded things that we exist within.
I did hear some of your argument before about, like, basically evil existing and gross things in this world like cancer that make life really hard. And you're kind of like trying to make it so that it puts God in a bad light, because I do believe in God. You are basically saying that he is evil because he created evil, from what I heard in your earlier conversation. As we can talk about this a little bit more. I don't believe that he created evil. I think it's a result of sin in human nature. You're saying he knows that was going to happen. And yes, you're right. He is all knowing, but you also don't know everything. All our minds are finite. They're constricted to this earth. He is the God of all. He oversees literally every single realm, every single thing. So you don't know what the result of all this is going to be or why. You don't know the whole picture. You couldn't possibly know as human. So yes, from our point of view, it might seem like we know better and we know that this isn't right and we hold our morals to him.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I know better. What I'm saying is you don't know if God did it. And you're conceding by saying that. You're conceding that I don't have an answer as to why there's evil. It just exists. And you're saying sin, but unfortunately, sin does not explain all the gratuitous evil. Like, why are there volcanoes? Why are there tsunamis that kill people? Well, what's the reason for that? Why would God design that such a configuration? Why would there be all this gratuitous suffering, this unnecessary suffering that you can't explain away with sin?
It wouldn't have. So if you read the Bible in Genesis, it talks about how the world was good as it was, and there was peace in the land and everything was good. Everything was right. And obviously when the fall of man happened, animals started to like change, humans started to change, and I do believe even the earth itself began to change. Everything became impure because humans started doing like little things that could have added up to volcanoes or like natural
So what
disasters.
were the actions that we did? What exactly were the actions that we did that caused volcanoes?
I mean, I guess if you believe in the butterfly effect, it could be as simple as like construction or building like different bodies of water, like trying to have our own well or something like that. Like little stuff like that can go a long way, I believe.
Yeah. So this is a complete misunderstanding of how geology works. Volcanoes have no relevance to wells or construction. Volcanoes preceded humans by billions of years. I mean, humans are brand new to the Earth. I mean, we're only here maybe a few million years. The Earth has been here for 4.5 billion. Volcanoes have been here since the beginning of the Earth. So the idea that we are the causes of volcanoes is ridiculous.
Okay, but like, why do you think volcanoes? I understand volcanoes have done harm and stuff, but like, do you not think like maybe they were supposed to exist and not supposed to harm us if we weren't like, why do you think it was God's plan to build volcanoes to hurt us, basically? Like, what?
You tell me. That's the problem. That's the problem, right? There's lots of ridiculous things in the world that we exist within that don't need to be there. Like asteroids. How about the asteroids that wiped out the dinosaurs? What do the dinosaurs do to get that, to deserve that? Did they eat apples from the tree too much? Too many apples? I don't think that. It seems to me that we live under a universe that just where shit happens. Like, to be frank, shit just happens. It doesn't seem to be some grand design. Shit just happens, and we are part of this shit place.
I know what you're saying, and I mean, even that I could easily say, like, just because it seems like nothing good can come of volcanoes from our perspective doesn't mean we know the whole purpose. We don't know the whole picture.
Okay, well then we're both at the same boat. We don't know, so then why do you assume it must be God?
Well, I know y'all, like I was gonna say Yahweh because that's what I believe his name is, but I know God personally, so that's why I believe in him. I feel like that also, like with the order and stuff, like you're saying, you think we're in a world where things just happen, but the way our bodies work, the like down to the very last cell, like there's too much evidence that something was thought. Even the existence of love, like something thought this stuff through. There's no way that this could happen by random. The fact that we have the air to breathe and we have the perfect temperature to not burn or like freeze alive every day, stuff like that. It's like something is
People
here.
freeze and die every day. People get, man, we live next to a burning ball of plasma called the sun that gives us skin cancer.
No, actually, we orbit the sun, and it's possible to get skin cancer if you like. There's natural survival. There's like just like if you're out in the snow, you're gonna get frostbite.
I'm sorry, man, but the world around us wants to kill us all the time. From diseases to cancers to mutations to and parasites and bugs and infections and bacteria and the sun's burning rays and gamma ray burst and cosmic radiation and all kinds of flooding and tsunamis and volcanoes. We live in a very, very harsh reality, and we're surviving by threads. We're barely hanging on, and that's exactly the universe we exist in. We live in a universe that fits precisely with one in which there's just a thing that shit happens and we happen to survive just enough to replicate and reproduce. There is no evidence that there's some man wanting us to be here. Not at all. And if you're going to say, well, there's a reason my God has these things. What's the reason? And nobody has a reason. There's no reason for these things as far as I can say.
I know that like reality is hard. Everybody knows that there's some really bad things in this world, like you said. But I feel like you're like trying to find someone to blame for it. And
no, I'm not. You are.
I'm not actually. I think that
you're saying people are doing it. You're saying it's sin.
No, I think it's a result of just impurity and death and
okay,
like
well,
that.
whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? If God designed the world, whose fault is the world? Is all the bad things that happen in the world?
I wouldn't say it's anyone's fault. It's just the consequence of
But God created this world. If God is responsible for this world, he created it. Wouldn't he be responsible for everything that happens in it? Isn't he the father
What you're
figure?
trying to say, but no, okay. What you're not understanding is that he gave us free will, and when people choose darkness, this has a lot of effects. This has a domino effect. This causes bad things to happen.
But that only explains a sliver of the amount of evil in the world. How about all the gratuitous evil that you have not
Sickness?
explained yet?
You mean sickness and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I do believe that that is because of the fall of man. I don't believe that was the intention of God, and I know He knows it was going to happen.
I'm sorry, but cancer predates humans. Cancer has existed for billions of years in animals and species. There's nothing human that we did that caused cancer or disease. That's something that literally is embedded in our DNA, in our blood.
Whenever I believe when God created the earth, there was no sickness like cancer. That stuff didn't start to happen until.
That's nonsense. I'm sorry, but cancer is older than humans are, and I mean, you can believe in this nonsense, but there's no evidence that the world is only 6,000 years old. That's stupid.
Like you guys keep saying like I don't have evidence, but you don't have evidence to back up that cancer was older than humans or that.
Man, we have the fossil record. You just look, just because you haven't seen the fossils doesn't mean that they don't exist. We have the fossils. We see evidence of cancer in trees
But there's
and all kinds of living beings.
Just because we have fossils with cancer in it doesn't mean that that's older than human. Clearly, like you don't
That's
have
exactly what it means. That's exactly what it means. It means we see these fossils, we can date them, and they're older than humans are. It's just what follows from the evidence, and you can dismiss it, but that doesn't do anything for you. And by the way, how did you see God? What did He do to you?
So I also was very basically, long story short, I was raised in a very strict religious household. My dad's the pastor, whatever. I actually had a lot of resentment towards the idea of religion because I felt like it controlled a lot of my life and it took away a lot of stuff because my dad was really strict about it. I moved out and I went to the military and I started doing whatever I wanted to do. And I still felt an urge to pray or listen to his music or read his Bible. And I was kind of angry about it because I just felt like I didn't want anything to do with it. Eventually, I found myself listening to music and I was actually really upset. And I just was actually really angry talking to God. Like, why won't you leave me alone? Like, I don't want anything. I don't want any part of this. And that's when I felt like I physically felt this love, this overwhelming love pour into my soul. Something I've never felt before, and I just could tell, and I felt the connection of God. And since then, so much more. I don't know why you're acting like that when you literally asked for my testimony.
Sorry, I didn't ask for your life story. I asked for just how you know God exists, right?
That's literally a short story of the long story. I mean, you can't just ask, how did you run into God and want it to be 2 seconds?
So all you said was that you felt something and now you think God is real? Like that? I'm sorry, man, but...
No, actually, that's just the very first time I felt him. After that, I obviously have done more commitment and more
How do you know you felt God and not just your own tingling feeling in your brain and your body? How do you know you felt God?
It's a feeling. So how can I prove that to you? I can prove it to you and how he used me.
That's your problem, not mine.
No, let me tell you how he used me instead of just what I've experienced. So not only does the Bible itself have prophecies and things of many things like that, but he's used me to even have discernment and prophesy, not really prophesy, but know things I'm not supposed to know for lots of people in my family. And I mean, you guys could believe me or not, but he's used me in ways that nothing else could make sense. No other explanation but the God that I worship and live for. Just because you guys haven't experienced it doesn't mean it isn't real. There's not just me. There's many people in this world who...
At the end of the day, all you have are claims. How do you know that God is doing this, is behind all these ridiculous things? How do you know that God is doing it? And maybe it's not just coincidence, or maybe it's not just your own thoughts or feelings. How do you know this?
I know because, like I said, he's used me. You don't know my family. You don't know their life stories, but I do. And I know that the stuff that he's told me and shown me with them, it's just, you wouldn't get it. You just have to experience it for yourself. I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
that's not what I'm asking you. Look. How do you know that God is talking to you and not just yourself?
I know it's not me because one, I feel like I'm very self-aware. It's actually a problem, and it's taken a lot of peace from me throughout my life. But whenever I hear or feel God, first of all, it's just experience. Dude, it's unmistakable. Okay, like you can't mistake it for anything else. It is profound.
It's unmistakable. Okay, what is it like? It's a feeling. Well, I'm sorry, but that's exactly what everybody else feels.
Okay, can you hear me?
Unfortunately.
What do you believe in?
How old are you?
23.
What year were you born?
2000.
Okay.
What
I
do you
believe in
believe in?
facts.
Facts from where?
Reality.
What reality?
The one we
Like,
live
you're not
in.
telling me to
The
believe
one
in.
where the moon revolves around the earth and we revolve around the sun.
Okay, so like, what do going vegan have to do with God being imaginary?
Nothing. They're separate topics.
Oh, well, in the Bible, you're not supposed to eat pork or eat unclean animals. This or all
Okay.
of that.
What's a W-2?
Huh?
Do you know what a W-2 is?
Yes, for your taxes. Stop playing with me. You're mad because you don't know what.
You're really 23 and you don't know what like anything is, what facts are, or what evidence means.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not understanding why you kicked the last girl off the live because you was having a satanic tantrum, but like, you don't get mad because she wouldn't admit that she's God. Like, God is a higher power.
Oh my gosh. You really think I was having a satanic tantrum? No, that's called tiredness and impatience.
Right. So like, if you believe in evil, how can't you believe in good? Like, without the devil, there's no
I
God.
do believe in good.
Exactly. So like, what do you mean God is imaginary if you believe in good?
God is a specific being who walked on water and turned his
God
body
is the
into
being
bread
that
like a
created
zombie.
you. And if he wanted to, he could really like drop all your teeth out your mouth right now. Like, you being very ignorant and disrespectful.
Wait, so you think that God's gonna take my teeth out of my mouth
If he wanted to,
because
he could right now.
what? What did I say to him? I said he's not
You keep
real.
saying he's not real. You trying to get prophets to admit that they're God, and you just being ignorant.
Well, I guess your God is really good. He loves to take people's teeth out of their mouth and what he else enslave people. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, people get enslaved because they did something bad. Like, maybe you should read your Bible.
He's so loving. You're such a loving person, and Jesus loves you so much. He'll take your teeth out.
I'm glad you know. I'm glad you know. Now keep being disrespectful and ignorant. You will be dealt with. Like, you think it's a game and you don't.
I'm so scared. Shiver me timbers. Shiver
What's up,
me.
Mike? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How long you been vegan, man?
Like 5 years.
Yeah, I just caught up on 3. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good journey. I wish more people could see the light for that. But you're talking about a different subject here. It seems like God is imaginary, evolution is a fact. Okay. I mean, evolution up to a point is a fact. You know, human evolution still has a little bit of holes in it, in my opinion, specifically. I don't feel like the fragment of the jawbone of Lucy, as it's called, is irrefutable proof that there is a missing link there. Some people theorize that it could be some sort of divine intervention.
You don't even
Some
need
people even
fossils.
theorize stuff about like
Look,
alien intelligence coming here. I don't really prescribe to that, but
you don't even need fossils to prove evolution. Evolution's proven purely through our DNA. Chromosome 2 is direct proof of evolution. We can see the chromosomal fusions, which determine that there must have been a common ape lineage between us and other chimps. Fossils are not even needed to prove evolution, but furthermore, there are various fossils that do demonstrate our lineage with other apes. It's not just a jawbone that we need, or that everything's hinged upon. There are multiple data points that we go by.
Yeah, gorillas, mandrills, chimpanzees, bonobos. Yeah.
And yeah, what's your point?
I mean, I'm trying to pick your brain a little bit more. I feel like I came in late and just want to get your viewpoint a little bit more before I just, kind of spew off mine, if that makes sense.
What is your argument today?
My argument? I don't believe that God is imaginary, and sometimes it does come down to a feeling. Sometimes it is like that. There's a lot of eyewitness testimony that have been written about in the scriptures, dating back to even like 20, 30, 50, 60 AD, are these miracles happening and Jesus happening. There's even records outside of the biblical canon. I was just actually looking them up last night.
Who are these eyewitnesses? What are their names?
Matthew, Mark, John, Paul. I mean, all the disciples.
No, the disciples never, or the gospel writers never claimed to have seen Jesus. In fact, the gospels are dated to be decades after Jesus died. They're not contemporary. You have no eyewitnesses. You have no contemporary data at all.
Yeah, see, part of the reason why it came out later, because it takes some time to write a book, especially because you can't just type it out. You actually,
it doesn't take 40 years. It does not take 40 years to write.
It does if people are trying to hunt you down and kill you for spreading the gospel and starting a church and a new religion.
No, the reason why it took so long is because for 40 years the gospels were orally passed down and they were changed. That's why the gospels are so contradictory and there's so many holes in them, because they've been passed down orally so long that the story's changed. It's like playing the game telephone. It's never the same message you get from the beginning. At the end of the day, people love to twist and exaggerate. So the gospels are very unreliable for that reason, let alone the fact that you have no eyewitnesses for Jesus, let alone you have no actual evidence that Jesus was a real person, let alone a fucking God.
Okay, so outside of what you just said, we have proof in the Antiquities of the Jews by Flavius Josephus in 93 to 94 AD. That's pretty accurate. Contains references of Jesus in his testimony of the Flavianum. Appears in book 18, chapter 3. And this guy was a Jewish historian. Then you have the Tacitus Annals.
Yeah.
And that's book 15, chapter 44, written in 1116 AD. And Nero and the Christians persecution of Christians by Nero following the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD. Tacitus refers to Jesus as Christus, or Christ, who suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our of Pontius Pilate.
Sure, we can agree that some guy on a stick died on a stick. It doesn't mean that he's a god, right? But Josephus.
But the miracles are eyewitness testimony, and eyewitness testimony is very valuable in court.
Josephus and Tacitus, they are known interpolations. They are not contemporary, let alone true or accurate or reliable. The other sources you mentioned were after the fact, way after Christianity took a hold of Europe. You have presented zero contemporary data. Zero. It doesn't exist. No biblical scholar would ever agree that there's any contemporary evidence of Jesus.
They have the New Testament are dated to roughly 20 to 30 years after Jesus' death. Now, let me explain why it was so hard for them to write. You can't just type this out on a computer or text it on your phone. They were writing with the reed on papyrus and goat skin. That's very hard to do when you're starting a church and people are literally hunting you down to try to kill you. Whole governments are trying to stop you from getting this message out.
It doesn't matter how they wrote it. It still doesn't make it true. Right? At the end of the day, you have a storybook.
But I'm refuting the fact that you said it took so long for it to come out. It didn't really. In their time, that's how quick they could get it out.
It wouldn't take 40 years no matter how it's written down. I mean, anybody can write something in a year or two, especially the Bible. But besides the fact, that's besides the point. The point is that you have no reliable data. You have no reliable data that shows that God is real.
You have eyewitness testimony of these people
Where?
writing this stuff down. They're historians. They're writing this stuff down. Eyewitness testimony of them seeing these miracles.
Where's the eyewitness testimony?
It's in the gospel. It's in the scripture. That's
No,
what it
the
is.
Gospels are not eyewitness accounts.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. The Gospels themselves say that they're not.
How do they not say that? They're literally attesting and quoting things.
Do you have a single biblical scholar that says or shows us that the Gospels are eyewitness accounts?
I mean, not offhand, but I mean, you have people that are deciphering all types of scrolls. You have whole teams deciphering the Dead Sea Scrolls for years. You're taking these clay pots. Why would people go to the extent to hide these things? These massive libraries from the Roman intrusions.
Why did the Mayans go to the extent to kill each other out of their sun gods? Just because people did stupid things doesn't mean that their gods actually exist.
Why is hiding a library so that the truth doesn't get hidden by the Romans, who again were trying to kill people and suppress the truth?
Because people do crazy things or stupid things doesn't mean that what they're doing is true.
Why is that stupid though?
Because
why is protecting knowledge stupid?
It's not knowledge.
How is it not knowledge?
It's a fairy tale. It's mythology that people hold sacred, and I understand why they hold it sacred, but it doesn't make it any more true. You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll agree to disagree there.
Okay, well, come back with better data next time, because
I mean, I'm giving you data. You're just not accepting it. You're not accepting it, so.
Well, do you accept the Vesta?
Huh?
Do you accept the Vesta?
The Vesta, I'm not aware of that, sorry.
It's a religious textbook with lots of claims of a monotheistic God. There were churches, Zoroastrian, the Zoroastrian church. They had churches, they had temples, they had all kinds of libraries. Just because there is a religion that people hold sacred does not mean it's true. People have been religious for thousands of years. There's nothing new about your religion.
There is something new, because there's the eyewitness testimony that's talked about in multiple things that I just presented.
The source you're using to prove the source is correct. It's circular. You're using the source to prove the source. That is
okay. So when you go to court and you have eyewitness testimony saying, "Hey, he did something," that's not acceptable to you. that's not proof enough for you.
Look, if we went to court and I said,
"Do you believe in the Big Bang Theory?"
Hold on. If I went to court and I said, "I saw spaghetti monster," would you believe? Would the judge say, "Okay, Mike, you're right"? No, that's not how the court works. The court works, yes, on eyewitness testimony to some degree, but it's dependent on the claims they're making. If you're making a crazy claim like, "Oh, I saw the Loch Ness monster," no judge will ever accept that as evidence. Eyewitness testimony is dependent on the claims, the context, right? Vastly different than what you're doing, which is historical, right? You're making historical claims which require historical data, which you have zero. But yes, I do think the Big Bang is a reliable model because we can observe the Big Bang.
Okay, you can observe the Big Bang, but it's still a theory. It's not complete.
A theory or a model is an explanation for something we see and observe. A theory is not just some random guess. It's a model for reality. It is based on facts and evidence. It's not just a random idea. It's fact-based.
And so who says the scriptures aren't fact-based in the same way?
The lack of evidence.
There's plenty of evidence, though, and it was translated multiple ways, pretty much as soon as they could, in the time frame they could. What evidence do you have that it's made up from that time frame? That it's made up?
What evidence do I not have? Are you talking? I mean, look at Genesis. The biblical stories contradict each other. Genesis 1 and 2 are different stories, different origin stories. Noah's Ark, it never happened. Adam and Eve never existed.
Noah's Ark never happened. Interesting. That's interesting. You haven't heard about all the science that's come out about these great floods literally wiping out whole civilizations that live in valleys and stuff? A giant cataclysm that happened?
Oh, really? Where's
you need to look into that, bro. You need to look into that. There's a whole documentary. The guy appeared on Joe Rogan. I'll try to pull
Oh,
it up.
Joe
I don't remember
Rogan,
it
bro.
exactly, but
He
it's called
must be
like
real,
Ancient
man.
Civilizations or
Oh
something. But
yeah.
he literally goes through, they sonar the ocean. They literally LiDAR the ocean. They're finding roads and stuff. They're finding depictions
And
in
that has
things
been
like
proven
Mayan
to be a
civilizations,
hoax.
like you
That,
mentioned,
sir,
similar societies, and they
this
depicted also a great cataclysm.
this has been proven to be a hoax. There were no chariots under the sea. They're
A
just
hoax.
Photoshop photos.
So now I'm giving you actual proof in a massive documentary,
Okay,
and you're saying it's
give
a hoax.
give me this.
LiDAR technology finding
Give
straight
me
lines in the bottom of the ocean, and
give
that's not proof enough for
give
you
me
that
the
Noah happened.
scientific.
What about Göbekli Tepe? Now they're
Sir,
studying that.
sir,
That might be where the actual Noah's Ark existed.
sir, give me one scientific proof of these things.
I just gave you a whole documentary.
Documentaries are not scientific. Documentaries are not scientific. Joe
They're
Rogan is
all
not
based on
scientific.
scientific evidence. They're literally studying it.
Where?
They're diving in the
Where
ocean. They're
is it?
scanning. They're using architect or
Sir, give me one scientific paper that demonstrates what you're saying.
I don't need a scientific paper. I watched the entire documentary. Like you can go look it up yourself and you can check yourself.
Okay. Documentaries are not reliable sources because they can be biased. They can be, exaggerated. They can be manipulated. That's why documentaries are not a good source. A source is peer-reviewed. It's demonstrated. It's testable. It's repeatable. That's a good source. So that's why I require a scientific study, not Joe Rogan. That's not a good source.
Joe Rogan. The guy appeared on Joe Rogan.
It doesn't matter. It's still a bad source. It's a bad source. It's an appeal to authority. It's a documentary, for God's sakes. It's not a good source. We want scientific papers because there's a
they're doing
methodology.
science throughout the entire documentary. They're literally diving in the ocean using LiDAR technology to scan. They're finding straight lines in nature. They're finding massive roads all over the world. It's not just one area that flooded. It was the entire world was hit by a cataclysm. They're theorizing that it was hit by some kind of meteor.
Okay, great. And when would this
in the ice cap and sent a massive tidal wave across the entire world? There's even structures and core samples of mud literally filling up entire valleys in an instant.
Sure. Like, when exactly was this global flood? When did it happen?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't have everything completely laid out ready for this. Every single thing that you try to refute.
Okay, so you're not really sure when it happened?
No, I'm not actually sure when it happened, no.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the documentary for you, though, so you can...
question I had for you was...
Yeah, go ahead.
There are like salt plains, there are geological formations and structures in Nevada, for example, that have not seen any kind of, rain or water for the last few million years. How do you explain that if there was a global flood?
I mean, the water might not have been able to get there because you have the massive Rocky Mountains. It might just been an anomalous type area.
Okay, so it wasn't a global flood.
I mean, it didn't cover the entire world. No, there were civilizations that still existed after the Great Flood.
Okay.
But there still was a flood nonetheless.
Where did the big ship land?
Dang, I'm trying to recall it because I just was watching something last night about it, but I don't remember where it exactly landed.
Was it Turkey?
I can't. It might have been. If you've heard something, yeah, I mean, I'll take it.
Okay. Yeah, just another question. I mean, how did the penguins get to Antarctica from the ship? That was like thousands of miles away and across several oceans. Did they waddle across Africa?
Well, the thing is, they don't really depict the creatures that live in the ocean going onto the Ark. So penguins might not have actually been ever on the Ark, but
okay.
It's an interesting theory you have there, though.
What else was on the Ark? Were there dinosaurs on the Ark?
No, because dinosaurs didn't exist at that time. They'd already gone extinct.
Okay. How about the kangaroos? Were they on the Ark too?
It's possible, yeah, sure. I don't think it's actually listed that they were. I don't think they had a full manifest of every animal specifically.
Yeah. Do you think they hopped across the Indian Ocean and they swam thousands of miles to Australia? How did they get to Australia?
Who knows how the world existed back then? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know exactly how.
Exactly. We don't have any scientific evidence of those things, right? So, Anyway,
I mean, there's
I
all
appreciate
kinds
you
of
being
crazy
here.
stuff that happens in Australia
I
evolutionarily from an
really do appreciate you being
anthropological
here.
perspective. You have things like giant or mini elephants and giant rats and dwarf-sized people in an island that exists off of coast of Australia. I mean, I took anthropology. It has holes in it.
Right, has giant holes that you're going to fill with your God of the gaps arguments. Right, God did it.
Yeah, I've heard that too. So.
Yeah. You heard that? Yeah, it's good.
God of the gaps fallacy. Yeah, you guys use that like a broken record.
Yeah, because it's true, right? Because you're literally not giving a single source for us today, and you're making wild.
I'm giving you multiple sources.
Nothing.
I'm giving you multiple sources. You just say that. You just say that, but I'm giving you multiple sources.
What scientific source have you given us today?
I just gave you the documentary where they go over all the science, and you can go watch it. You can find it.
What's it called?
I'm trying to find it for you right now.
Noah's big ship.
No, I think it's like ancient civilizations or something. Ancient civilizations.
Like ancient aliens?
No, it's nothing like that. Okay.
Noah's big ass boat.
Graham Hancock. The guy's called Graham Hancock, and you can look up all his work. Go ahead and look him up. Graham Hancock. Okay. So you can just have it for later.
Okay, great. I'll take it. You can
watch it. It's called Ancient Apocalypse, I believe. Actually, Ancient Apocalypse.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that name.
Check that one out. His theory is that the comet struck about 12,000 years ago. It struck the polar ice cap, which was a lot larger back then. They were in I believe it was like more frozen time.
So I just looked up Graham Hancock, and it seems like he has actually no scientific research at all, no published studies. He's actually a writer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's helping fund the documentary in the way that he can, but he's the face of it. Doesn't mean there's not science going on in it. If you watch it, I mean you can refute it and try to character judge him off the face of some article that you just saw a headline of. You're doing the 2080 rule, like where you just literally look at the headline of the article and you think you know everything about him in an instant without even watching the documentary. Like, did you even read the Bible?
So reviews of Hancock's
question here. You're sus.
So reviews of Hancock's interpretations of archaeological evidence have identified them as a form of pseudo-archaeology, pseudo-history, containing confirmation bias.
Okay, but you have to watch it. You can't just go off of someone's opinion of it. You're reading articles.
He ignores context, he cherry picks or misinterprets evidence, and withholds critical countervailing data. His writings have neither undergone scholarly peer review nor published in academic journals. I would say it's not reliable.
Okay, well, you haven't watched it yet, so you can't really base your opinion off of someone else's article and their opinion. You're making opinions off of other people's opinions.
These are not my opinions. These are actual reviews from scholars, right? So
okay, but what are those scholars' agendas, and what are they basing all of this off of? Just because something isn't peer reviewed doesn't mean it's not factual. Just because he didn't turn it in to the universities to get peer reviewed doesn't mean that he didn't conduct all these studies and he didn't have teams of scientists and divers and dude, the list goes on. Just watch the documentary. Don't knock it. Don't knock it before you watch it.
Just because you watch
You're being very assumptive right now. You're being very assumptive.
Says the one who thinks that we all magically appeared in 6 days from a magic man who rose from the dead like a zombie. That's a big fucking assumption, sir. That's the biggest fucking assumption you can ever make in your life.
That could be somebody's interpretation. That could be somebody's interpretation of explaining God. That could be someone's interpretation of trying to explain God in a human type way. But I mean, you can look.
All right, guys. I think I had enough for today. You want to see him parting the sea? Yeah. It's just funny how theists operate. It's really funny to me. Well, hope you guys learned something today, right? I hope you learned that thinking is good. It's exciting. It's fun to learn, discover things. And perhaps the world isn't as you think it is. Perhaps the universe is more mysterious than you can imagine. Perhaps there is no God. Perhaps there is no evidence of it. Let's find out. Right? These are big questions. Let's find the answers. But the answers are not going to be only where you want them to be. They're going to be in places that you haven't probably thought of yet. That's why it's important to follow the evidence and don't just follow your emotions. Follow the evidence. That's going to be the most reliable way of knowing the truth. But yeah, how are humans here? These are great questions. How are we here? Why do we exist? These are very, very deep questions. And it's worth pondering these questions. But at the end of the day, all we know is what we have in front of us, each other, our friends, our families, people around you, the world we live in. It's all we got is just one life. All we know we have. No matter what the answer is, all we have is this life. So let's be useful. Let's do something useful. Let's learn about each other. Let's be more compassionate. Let's be nicer, kinder. I always love talking about. You guys see that dot? You guys see that? Right there, that one little dot there. That's the Earth. That's our planet, right? That's our planet. That's the Earth from space. So from that perspective, all these notions of some man or some God who cares about us, it just utterly is dwarfed by that dark void of nothingness. It seems that we are not the center of the universe. And maybe there's a bigger picture out there where we're not the center, or we're not that important to it. So from that vantage point, the Earth is small and tiny and seemingly insignificant. And you might feel sad about that. But I see it another way. I see it in the sense that, hey, that's all we got. That's that one dot. So let's cherish it. Let's take care of it. Let's take care of each other. Because there's no other place, as far as we know, where we can go. Not Mars, not the moon. All we have is the Earth. That's where we can exist for now. So let's cherish it. Let's cherish each other. And not take things for granted. All these questions we have are good questions, but some of them are unanswerable. And perhaps there is no ultimate answer. Maybe questions always will arise. Maybe questions are never-ending questions. And that might seem like a very scary thing, but embracing the mystery makes it more comfortable. Instead of shying away from the mystery and saying, it must be God, it must be this, embrace it. When you learn to embrace the discomfort of being in this reality, you start to really see the world differently. God made us. That's a very look at how human of a thing it is to say that there is a man who made us, right? look at how human of a thing it is to say that there was a person who made us, who looks like me, who acts like me, who loves me, who cares about me, who wants the best for me, right? Look at how egotistical that is. And from that perspective, I don't see a universe that cares about me, right? I don't see a God who cares about me there in that picture. So, if you're going to assume that there's somebody out there making us and caring for us, and it's not evident in any way to me. So, and it not only isn't evident, but it actually seems like a very egotistical thing it seems like it's coming from our egos, if anything. It doesn't seem like it's coming from reality. It seems like it's coming from within us. So maybe, we should be cautious before we believe or succumb to our emotions and face reality. Whatever the answer is, let's face it and stop imposing our own wants and desires onto the world. We want there to be a God. It's intuitive that we want there to be somebody out there who cares about us. We don't like being lonely. We don't like being isolated. We don't like that. We're very social animals, and we don't want to be alone. So of course we're going to make up a God. It's just natural. And that's, to me, a good reason to be cautious, because look at the bias that gets in the way there. So, whereas in contrast, when we look out in the universe, it seems almost always that the answers always are the opposite of what we would expect. They are completely counterintuitive to what we would expect. So that's another reason to be cautious. Typically, the answers are not always what we expected them to be, or wanted them to be. The universe continues to defy our expectations. Yeah. But again, in all this vastness, all we have is each other. In this one moment, in this time, this whatever time is, that's all we got. So, to me, people think that atheism is nihilistic. I think it's the opposite. I think recognizing the fact that we are finite and small and insignificant puts more importance on us to take care of each other, to cherish our lives, because it's so rare and finite. Makes it more valuable to me that it's all we got. You can travel a billion light years and you'll never find another person like the people you know. You'll never find another Earth like the one you have now. So that's another perspective. There's another way of seeing that. So in my life, I've seen great appreciation. I'm very appreciative of things because I learned more about them. I understand more about the universe. When I look at the night sky, I see stars. It's amazing to understand what that means, what stars are, that there's suns far away. When I learn about biology, DNA, learning the mechanisms behind that just excites me and makes me appreciative of who we are. When I learn how the body works, how the earth works, I become more appreciative of it. So there's a grander spiritual aspect to science in a way, because learning changes how you see everything. So But yeah, if you're hungry for answers, don't assume the answers. Don't assume you have them. Be curious, stay cautious, but open to any possibilities. Have I seen Interstellar? Yeah, it's a great movie. And it's real, based on real facts. I mean, it's true that the faster you move through space, the slower time elapses for you relative to somebody on the planet, on Earth. It's a real phenomenon that time and space are interconnected, that you can slow down time. You can travel through time in a sense. And that's a real phenomenon in reality. This is just mind-boggling. So it's true that if you went out in space in a spaceship and it traveled near the speed of light, you would actually slow down time for yourself, and you would come back to the Earth a year later. You would have aged only maybe a year, but the Earth would have aged maybe 100 years. So this is a real phenomenon that happens in reality. It's not science fiction, it's science fact. Black holes are these weird kinks in space-time that attract even light to it, and light can't even escape. I mean, that's a really crazy phenomenon that actually is a real phenomenon. That's real. There's so much mystery and richness in reality that, so many things we can't explain. There's a never-ending Candyland of things to explore in the world. If you're a skeptic, the world is your playground, So there's great value in understanding things and learning and having a scientific mindset. There's great value there. And it filters, science spills into every aspect of my life. Almost every aspect of my life has changed through science. Even my career and finances and health and many things. Having a scientific background or scientific basis can utterly transform your life for the better. So, how does life create non-life? How does non-life create life? Well, it's a process. It's a chemical process. It has to do with amino acids clumping together, turning into peptides, which then link together in chains, polypeptides, and these can form sheets of amyloids, which can then basically grow larger and larger, and as they kind of can produce their own amino acids through this process, kind of something called autocatalysis, where they can produce their own reactants, which can then produce their own, can generate more of them. So kind of like a proto-replication process. From there you have a protocell, which is a lipid bilayer of lipid molecules. Their different polarities produce a spherical structure in the water, which then encapsulate these amyloids and other structures, perhaps RNA, which can be produced through nucleobases, produced in the oceans or in space, perhaps. These nucleobases can form RNA. They can polymerize under clay phosphate minerals. There's a circulation between the oceans and the surface, wetting and drying, cooling and heating cycles, which then catalyze the reactions to produce these things. So It's a vast process, and the great thing about it all is that we can learn about it. And I have a video about it on my YouTube channel where I give you the scientific studies, I show you the papers, and I show you the mechanism of it. So if you're curious, go to my YouTube, link in bio. I have all my videos on there. I talk about God, veganism, I talk about everything. Science, relativity. And soon, tomorrow, I'll be making a video about time. You can't prove how it got there in the first place. Well, fundamentally, matter in the universe could have always existed in some way, you know. And the baryonic matter that makes us up wasn't always, it wasn't always the way it is. I mean, there was a quark gluon plasma that preceded all matter. The point is that there were different states of the universe that are different than today's states, but whatever the universe is today has origins to things that perhaps existed forever. There was no origin to the universe. It could have always been in some way, and it just goes through changes. We don't know. These are big questions, but we don't actually need to know the absolute origin to know things about the world around us. So, anyway, I'm really tired, guys. That wouldn't explain the complexity of our bodies. It does. We're only complex because we are carrying the baggage of billions of years of evolution. Every one of your cells contains DNA. DNA is a structure that built upon itself, right, over billions of years. It's not that one day DNA just magically appeared. And I know you're looking around the world today and saying, wow, it's so complex. There must be a designer. But you're missing a key feature here, that everything you are made of has a story, has a vast story, has a lot of history behind it that you're omitting. We evolved, and that explains why we're complex. Natural selection, survival of the fittest, was what drives this evolution. There's no evidence that there's some being who, magically made us from dust or clay at all. How did the first cell evolve? Well, the first cells were protocells. They were not living cells, but they were protocells. They were the first steps towards a living cell. And it seems that these protocells in the oceans were produced of lipid bilayers, which then were driven to replicate via RNA. Or there's a different hypothesis to how the first cell formed. Or there's RNA world, there's amyloid. Perhaps there's a combination of these different hypotheses, but the evidence is clear that it was likely RNA that drove the first living beings. RNA doesn't evolve, but it does. Absolutely it does. RNA contains genetic material. And RNA is just an assemblage of nucleobases and phosphates and sugars, all of which are found in the earlier history. Do you believe the universe was created? No, there's no such thing as creation. RNA is always found with DNA. Well, that's in today's world, right? But we're talking 4 billion years ago. There was only RNA. There was no DNA yet. DNA is just activated RNA. And by the way, the RNA of today is different than RNA back then. So you're forgetting that there were simpler organisms back then that no longer exist today, that they have since evolved. So you're looking at the past in a modern day lens. No, you have to get rid of the modern day lens and recognize that the history of the universe was, the Earth was different. So. We actually have produced RNA in the lab, right? We can actually make RNA in labs with the same conditions of the early Earth. I mean, there's no reason to think that RNA has to be made by God or something. We can make amino acids. We can even make protocells in labs. Prove there can only be RNA. We mean prove. We don't, in science, we don't prove things, right? We have evidence that leads us to certain conclusions. The overwhelming evidence is that it was likely to be the case that RNA was the only thing that existed because there was no evidence of DNA before that time. And it just wouldn't work mathematically. Space-time breaks down. That's a good question. Space-time falls apart at 10 to the minus 33 centimeters. It's not fundamental reality. Well, you're talking about the Planck length, right? You're talking about Planck units. And yeah, I agree that our relativity does not understand what happens beyond that moment. But it doesn't mean that reality breaks down or space-time breaks down. I mean, there are ways to model space-time in which it's emergent of some quanta. But there's nothing. We don't know if space-time is fundamental. It could be. It works either way. It could be emergent or fundamental, but nobody really knows, and that's the big question. There are so many things we don't know. It literally does not mean it's not fundamental. No, there could be some fundamental feature. There could be some deeper space-time that we don't understand yet. Just because we can't see what happens beyond the Planck length does not mean space-time is not fundamental. It means that relativity is not the full picture, right? It means that relativity is not the entire picture. It does not mean that space-time is not fundamental, though. So. Trust me, I would love to know the answer, but nobody knows. Just fall in her damn, this debate is nuts. What? Time doesn't exist objectively. It does, and time does exist objectively. It's just that our perception of time is subjective. In other words, how we perceive the now moment is different than other people's now moments. Your perception of time is dependent on your motion through space, is dependent on your gravity you're experiencing, is dependent on your velocity. In fact, the faster you move through space, the slower time elapses for you, right? Because there's an exchange between space and time. The more you move through space, the less you have time to move in. So Einstein shows us that there's a four-dimensional way to view space-time, where there's 3 space and 1 in time. And if you move through space, you're losing dimension. You're losing temporal space. In other words, you're slowing down your time. But if you're not moving in space, you're still moving in time. And that's what we're doing. We're mostly moving in time, not space. Light has all of its motion in the direction of space, in its spatial dimensions. And that's why it's moving at the speed of light. But that's a speed limit to everything within space-time. And because light travels at the speed of light and cannot surpass that, it tells us something about time. It tells us that there is this deep interrelationship between space and time. Oh, I'm tired. Absurd to propose the human eye evolved through spontaneous mutation. Well, nothing about mutation is spontaneous. There are always reasons and deterministic reasons for mutations. But the human eye is nothing special. It's just we know why the eye evolved, and there are many different versions of eyes in different species. Octopi have different eye, very complex eyes versus ours. I mean, hawks have way more complex eyes than we. They can see from miles away. So, the idea that the human eye is something special is ridiculous. But more importantly, we know the mechanisms in which eyes evolve. Eyes are made of photoreceptors. These are cells that can receive it or stimulated by light, photons. These photons can clump together, they can form structures, but then they can form certain curvatures. They form curved lenses where they can see certain positions of light, right? So now they can see positions. The next stage is a more spherical structure where it can see in all directions. So there's a very complex process behind it, but it's still known through evolution. We never have to invoke a god. This is just God of the gaps, right? You're just saying, well, I don't understand the eye, therefore God. I'm not saying it can't be a god or it can't be a being, but there's no evidence of that. There are good reasons to not, or to withhold, or to be cautious before we say it's a god. I mean, the eye is a very flawed thing. I mean, if you're going to say that there's a perfect being who designed us, I mean, look at how flawed we are. Look at how many issues there are with our bodies. I mean, the eye it decays easily. It's, after 60s and 70s, you get like, you see poorly. Our ears, they decrease all the time, consistently. They decrease in terms of their functioning. Our bodies decay, our skin decays, or they become wrinkly, and our brains decay. They become, they malfunction over time. Deeply embedded in our existence are flaws. And to me, no designer, no intelligent designer would ever design flaws in its creation. Or at least mechanisms that don't have to exist. I mean, why do we have tailbones? Why do we have wisdom teeth? Why do we have appendices? Why do we have, goosebumps? Why do we have all these things? Well, God doesn't explain these things, but guess what does? Evolution explains these things. I mean, evolution explains why we have these things. We inherited them from their vestigial structures. We inherited them from our ancestors. They're vestigial. It fits perfectly within the evolutionary model, but it does not fit within a God model. So there are good reasons to not believe in a God. Yeah. But thank you all for being here, guys. Did the nose happen before or after veganism? Yeah. Well, your mom sat in my face, and that's why it's big. Tell your mom I said hi. All right, guys, I gotta go.